My childhood sweetheart scored 20 points above the first-tier university cutoff in the college entrance exam, yet he chose to repeat his final year of high school. I pleaded with him earnestly to accept a place at a first-tier university. After graduation, he lived a life of comfort, happiness, and peace, yet, on the day his unattainable crush married a wealthy heir, he drove us both to our deaths. When Moo, if you hadn't butted in, I could have gone to the same university as Han Xingyue. Today should have been our wedding day, so, he blames me for ruining his chance to marry the girl he loved. When I opened my eyes again, I had gone back in time to the eve of submitting our university applications. Staring at Shi Zhiqing's blank application form, he suddenly turned and asked me, "When Moo, do you think I can get into a 985 university if I retake the exams?" Hearing Shi Zhiqing's deliberately casual question, I instinctively held my breath, a wave of mortal terror washing over me. 1. In my past life, on the day Shi Zhiqing learned his unrequited love had married a rich second-generation heir, he ignored my protests, frantically dragged me into his car, and sped towards the wedding venue. I tried to calm him down, but it was no use, so I kept quiet, afraid of angering him into doing something extreme. As the car drove on, he chattered incessantly about the affection he had harbored in his heart for years. "When Moo, she's getting married, and the groom isn't me. She must look stunning in a wedding dress. When Moo, if you hadn't butted in, I could have gone to the same university as Han Xingyue, and today would have been our wedding day." In a fit of rage, he slammed on the accelerator, charging forward recklessly until a collision occurred at the intersection. In my final moments, I was filled with such regret. "Shi Zhiqing, if you want to die, why are you dragging me down with you?" It was only then that I realized he had done it on purpose. Shi Zhiqing hated me with a venomous passion, like I was his mortal enemy. He used his last ounce of strength to make his hatred for me perfectly clear. "The only reason you stopped me from retaking the exam was because you were afraid I'd do better and end up with Xingyue. I know you have feelings for me. If there's a next life, don't stand in the way of my happiness again." So he thought I was trying to stop him from repeating the year because I had a crush on him. How ridiculous. My real reason was the teaching resources and comic books at his house. Shi Zhiqing's parents were both teachers who spared no effort or expense in nurturing him. Study materials filled an entire room. Our families lived close by, so I often went over to play. What touched me most was that he secretly bought full sets of comic books. "Do you think I can do better on the test?" Shi Zhiqing's anxious question snapped me back to reality as he nudged my arm. I looked at the blank computer screen. He hadn't failed in a single university. I thought for a moment, then told him with conviction, "Absolutely, no problem, Shi Zhiqing, you chose this path yourself, so you'll have to see it through to the end. I won't interfere in the slightest." 2. My uncharacteristic attitude made him suspicious. He observed me with a hint of skepticism and asked again, "When Moo, do you really think I can do better on the exam?" His intense gaze seemed to see right through me. "Just do what you think is best." "I can't study for you." Shi Zhiqing turned away, weighing his options carefully and hesitating to make a decision. "If I don't do well on the exam, wouldn't that be a whole year wasted?" Ha! I genuinely looked down on him from the bottom of my heart, a useless good-for-nothing. So he was aware of his own capabilities. This college entrance exam was his best performance yet. If he had to do another year, he might not even score this well again. In my past life, the moment I heard he wanted to retake the college entrance exam, I immediately offered him some hard-nosed advice. I even thought it would be easier for him to get into a top-tier university for graduate school than to get into one for his undergraduate degree. After my relentless persuasion, he finally gave up on the idea of retaking the exam and settled for a first-tier university that matched his score. Back then, I thought he was ambitious and destined to be a prominent figure in the future. But in the end, he still failed the postgraduate entrance exam. Looking back now, it was just an excuse he made for himself. In the end, he blamed all his failures on my meddling. He even tried to take me down with him. Suddenly, the computer chimed with a rapid series of alerts. It was a QQ message from Han Xingyue. He shot me a furtive glance, and I, understanding perfectly, turned my head away. I hesitated about whether to leave. I hadn't finished filling out my college applications. And being underage, I couldn't go to an internet cafe. After a moment's thought, I decided to wait outside the door. "Xingyue, are you done submitting yours?" On the video call was Han Xingyue, Shi Zhiqing's first love. "With my grades, I can get into pretty much any university in the country. By the way, where did you apply? It'd be great if we could end up at the same school." Han Xingyue was in high spirits. You could tell just from the sound of her voice, she was a genuine academic ace. And on top of that, she was gorgeous, the undisputed campus goddess. Every Thursday, classmates would dedicate songs to her on the campus radio, wishing her a bright future. Xi charged forward for love and performed exceptionally well on the college entrance exam, yet an insurmountable chasm still lay between them. Xingyue, I have a surprise for you. Whatever decision he makes, it's his own business. In no time, I had made my university choices, filled them in one by one, and hit submit. My results were solid, no surprise dark horses, no major slip-ups. I was pretty satisfied with my performance. It was good enough to get into a top-tier university here. Back then, my entire college life was dominated by Xi. He even managed to be a nuisance every single holiday. This time, if only I weren't at the same school as Xi, I could actually have a wonderful college experience. Of course, it's best for him to repeat the year 3 after submitting my college applications. I thanked him. Xi, we probably won't see each other as often from now on. Don't worry about what my mom said. I'm not taking it to heart either. We both have bright futures ahead of us, so let's keep looking forward. He was taken aback by my sudden remark. Xi and I are childhood friends, but our relationship isn't as harmonious as it may seem. The reason is that parents are fiercely competitive with each other. The only reason he befriended me was because he needed someone to talk to. Since both his parents are teachers, he had no one to talk to. Now that everything is out in the open, we all know where we stand, so there's no need for any more veiled competition. Xi let out a snort of laughter. Sure, in his eyes, I was a rival he couldn't shake off, a persistent shadow he couldn't escape. I wouldn't have improved this much without you. Now that we've cleared the air, let's not hold on to any grudges. You're a unique soul yourself. All the best for high school. Under his slightly appreciative gaze, I slung my backpack over my shoulder and headed home. In the days that followed, I spent my time waiting for my admission letter while also studying for my driver's license. During the holiday in my previous life, because I got involved in Xi and Han Xingyue's affairs, I spent the entire break covering for them. Their graduation trip was kept secret from their families. This time, I'm going to devote all my time and energy to myself. Xi didn't submit his college applications. He kept it hidden from his parents all along. His mother, still unaware that her son was planning to retake the college entrance exam, had already been making the rounds, inviting people and just waiting for the acceptance letter to arrive so she could throw a celebration banquet. In that small town, college students were a rarity, so the high-achieving grind students naturally drew a lot of attention. Overjoyed and a bit carried away, his mother would make a show of asking after the families of classmates who had taken the early admission route. It was, frankly, just a way to flaunt her son's success. So, what score did your child get on the Gaokao? An associate degree is fine too. It's easier to land a job with one, and starting to earn money early isn't a bad thing. When she saw me, she used the same line. What score did Mumu get? For a girl, just getting into any college is enough. It'll be easier to settle down later. I never expected such words from an exemplary teacher who was supposed to set a moral example. Standing there awkwardly, I was momentarily dumbfounded. My mom quickly stepped in to smooth things over. Mumu did alright on her exam, and as long as she's happy with it, that's what matters. First, I have to congratulate Xiqing for being so impressive, truly amazing. He must be this year's top scorer, right? When we got home, my mom advised me not to show off in front of others, when others are going hungry. Eating quietly is a form of courtesy. The exams are over now, so you should just focus on getting some proper rest. The next day, my mom signed me up for driving school. On the same day, Xiqing went on a trip. Xiqing's parents didn't put up much of a fuss. They readily provided the money. They only asked one extra question: who was he going with? Xiqing openly introduced his girlfriend, and his parents were overjoyed to see their son with such an intelligent and beautiful partner. The two of them kept asking questions incessantly, as if conducting an interrogation, but Xiqing was reluctant to let his parents meddle too much. Dad, Mom, I'm going to attend the same university as Xingyue and marry her after graduation. Please stop asking so many questions for now. I'll bring her home to meet you later. Xi's mother felt a pang of jealousy and said, they say a son forgets his mother once he gets a wife. And he's not even married yet but already pushing us away. Xiqing knew his mother's temperament all too well. Xingyue is the best girl I've ever met. No one can compare to her. She's as wonderful as Mom. drawing on her life experience. Mrs. She earnestly began to counsel her son, "You've just graduated and have never even been in a relationship. How could you possibly know what the best really means? I have no objection to you dating, as long as you're sensible about it." Shiching knew his mother had tacitly accepted his girlfriend's status, with his mother's approval. His father was naturally pleased as well. Sure enough, Mr. She took out his private savings and gave them to his son. I had just seen Shiching out the door when the teacher's call came through. Is this Shiching's parent? His scores have already cleared the first-tier university threshold. Is he certain about repeating his final year? As Shi's mother answered the phone, the word repeat echoed in her ears. She hung up immediately, thinking it was a scam call. By the time she realized it was the homeroom teacher calling, her hands were trembling with panic. "Hello, teacher, is there some mistake? My son has excellent grades and can get into a top university. Why on earth would he need to repeat a year?" After confirming over and over that her beloved son had retaken the year for love, Mrs. She cursed Han Xingyue's entire lineage. Mr. She was at a loss, desperately trying to pull some strings while urgently calling his son to come home. The entire floor echoed with the commotion from the Shi household. Neighbors who had previously been looked down upon craned their necks, trying to find out what was happening. "Didn't your father pull some strings to pick a major for you? Why haven't you applied? Has the deadline passed? Is there any chance for late enrollment?" Mrs. She paced back and forth anxiously. "Is it that stars and moon luring you, leading you down the wrong path? Break up right now, and don't make me say it twice. What kind of decent girl behaves so shamelessly?" Riding my e-bike back from driving school, I happened to see the hallway crowded with people, but it was unusually quiet, not like the normal hustle and bustle. Furious, Mother Shi stormed out the door, cursing at me every step of the way. "When Moo, were you in on this too? Were you helping him keep it from me?" We ran into each other head-on, and for a moment, it was rather awkward. "When Moo, have I not been good to you? How could you just stand by and watch Shiching throw his future away?" My mother shielded me. "What does your family business have to do with my daughter? Get out of my way, Mrs. She was determined to vent her anger, relentlessly berating me for being heartless. The crowd grew larger and larger. Having watched the commotion for a while and grasped the gist of the situation, they began to jeer. "And you call yourself a college student? You can't even go to school anymore. How dare you blame others? You got exactly what you deserved." Shi's mother flew into a rage, completely abandoning her professional demeanor as a teacher. She lost her mind on the spot and was ready to throw down. Just at that moment, Shiching returned. "Mom, what's going on? Why are so many people gathered outside our door?" Mrs. She clung to him as if he were a lifeline, sobbing uncontrollably. "Son, hurry up and tell them you didn't repeat a year of school. Your homeroom teacher made a mistake." After calming his parents down, Shiching tried to usher the crowd back. It was only then that they noticed the lovely young woman standing behind him, and they were even more reluctant to leave. Even with the door shut, the sounds of the argument from the Shi household couldn't be contained. "After all the effort I put into tutoring you and pulling strings to help with your college applications, is this how you repay me? Go find your teacher right now and see if there's any way to fix this." Shiching shook off his mother's hand, a look of delight on his face, and gently pulled Han Xingyue into an embrace. "Allow me to formally introduce my girlfriend, Han Xingyue." Mrs. She was absolutely furious, overcome with rage. Her legs gave way and she fainted. Mr. She hurriedly helped his wife to a seat, looking at their son, who had always been so well-behaved and sensible. They both understood in an instant. You've really grown up. I'm an adult now. I've thought long and hard about repeating the year, and I'm determined to attend the same university as Xingyue. Just one more year. I promise I'll do much better on the exams next time. Since I made the first tier cutoff this year, next year I can get into a top university. That would give me a completely different starting point. I don't want an ordinary life. I'm still young, so I should strive. Fight for what I want, instead of following the predetermined path you've laid out and living a life of routine. Whether it's right or wrong, the results will speak for themselves in a year." Shiching was full of ambition and unwavering confidence. Han Xingyue was quite impressed and greatly inspired. "I believe in you. Where there's a will, there's a way." Why does that sound so familiar? Probably from the 100-day pledge rally. Hearing their words, Shi's mother finally accepted reality. But those who've been through it know best. Repeating a year of study is no easy feat, and she knew her son's capabilities all too well. His current results were already a stretch, Another year would bring too much uncertainty. She was at a loss for words, torn between admiration for her son's commendable courage and concern for his future. With things having come to this, there was nothing to do but quietly support his dream. 5. Suddenly, the postman's arrival shattered the tranquility. When Moo. Sign for a delivery, whose when Moo, the recipient must sign in person. With a flutter in my chest, I took the mail bearing a university's emblem, already having a pretty good idea what it was. The delivery person offered congratulations, young lady, congratulations on your college acceptance. The neighbors in the hallway showered me with congratulations, and the delivery person could barely make his way out. Shiching let out a sigh as he heard the sound and stood up. Shi's mother slammed the door shut with a bang, making the whole building shudder. Mom and Dad were so overjoyed they booked a banquet, dancing about with glee. All these years of hard work haven't been in vain. Let's skip cooking today and go out to eat. We've got something to celebrate, free from outside interference. This summer was destined to be vibrant and full of life. The news that Shiching had repeated a school year for love spread through the town like wildfire in a single day. Whether people knew him or not, everyone had heard of him, and opinions were divided. In the class group chat, discussion on this topic showed no signs of dying down. Wow, they're retaking the exam even after scoring above the first-tier cutoff. If I got that score, my mom would be over the moon. Is he being naive? Repeating a year of study is a living hell. Even a dog wouldn't want that life. Respect other people's life choices. I've heard that the more times you retake the exam, the worse you tend to do. A year is a long time, anything can happen. As long as I get into a university, I'm good. Shiching and Han Xingyue were famous throughout the entire school. Even the head teacher warned students not to follow their example. During a break from driving lessons, I was chatting with my best friend. To my surprise, Shiching came straight to me and accused me out of the blue. When Moo, are you showing off just to piss me off? I was feeling dizzy from the heat and really didn't want to talk. What's your problem? Shiching, drenched in sweat, glared at me fiercely. You heard everything outside the door that day, didn't you? It was you who deliberately spread my family's business in the class group chat, right? You even tried to stop me from repeating the year at school, to tear me and Xingyue apart. Let me make this perfectly clear to you. There's no way I could ever be with you. My heart belongs only to Xingyue. I will be with Xingyue, no matter what. I took a sip of water to calm myself down. Shiching, what's gotten into you? Shouldn't you be studying instead of running around here? What does you repeating a year of school have to do with me? Who you're with is none of my business. There were dozens of people at your door that day. What makes you think I was the one who spread it? I'm not the only one who took the college entrance exam this year. You know. Have you completely forgotten that your family already announced they were throwing a celebration party for you? It's not happening anymore. So why is it strange if the neighbors ask about it? Besides, the school is collecting information on students' universities and majors. Didn't you know that? Hearing my words, Shiching looked a little dejected. He had never been left out of the loop before. The fact that he didn't even know about these things now just shows how harsh reality can be. My best friend spoke up for me, her tone dripping with protective bias. Shiching, you're quite the celebrity at school now. Everyone knows who you are. The homeroom teacher, an excellent educator who had taught many graduating classes, came to my home personally, her demeanor full of regret as she sought to understand the situation. Shiching, don't live to regret this. The college entrance exam is the best path to change your destiny, but a person must also have self-awareness. You need to think carefully about this. Should you repeat the year, or enroll in a vocational college with good job prospects and then pursue a top-up degree? Shiching simply wouldn't listen. Stay out of my business. There's no way I'm going to a vocational college. I'm aiming for a top-tier university. My alma mater will be proud of me. Until the new semester began, Shiching did nothing but mope around at home or spend hours on the phone with Han Xingyue. Things had come to this point. He absolutely could not let the one he loved look down on him. 6. Soon, the intense heat of summer would come to an end. I stepped through the university gates. With everything being so new and exciting, I was making new friends and learning new things every day. I attended lectures diligently, studied in the library, went on trips with friends on weekends, and occasionally took on part-time jobs. I went from being busy and fulfilled to not knowing what I was busy with. And then on to internships and work. My grades were excellent, and I smoothly secured a spot for graduate school without taking the entrance exam. But I really enjoyed working. After receiving my internship salary, I bought gifts for my parents. To my surprise, I ended up sharing a ride with Shiching. In his first year of repeating, he was admitted to the city's best cram school, and due to his excellent grades, his tuition was waived. He also received a substantial bonus. He bought a gift for Han Xingyue, which made him quite happy. At his old school, he was the subject of gossip and whispers, practically a cautionary tale. People looked at him like he was some kind of sideshow attraction. Shiching couldn't stand being the center of gossip and pointed fingers, so he transferred into a repeat year class. During every break, Han Xingyue would encourage him, sharing all the little details of her university life. They were deeply in love, like a pair of star-crossed lovers. At first, Shiching was determined to hit the books, but how could tedious exam papers compare to the sweet nothings that tug at the heartstrings? Han Xingyue was smart, beautiful, and a hard worker. Every day, a crowd of suitors would gather at her dormitory entrance. No shortage of them came from good families, had great prospects, or were charming and witty. To say she wasn't tempted would be a lie, yet she turned each and every one of them down. The sweet nothings I was fed in high school should have lost their effect by now. Shiching, study hard, I'll be waiting for you at N University. Shiching could clearly sense his girlfriend's growing distance, but with her so far away, he felt utterly powerless to do anything about it. In the intense, high-pressure cram school, Shiching, with his frequent absences, was an outlier who was often called in for talks with the teachers. His grades were decent enough, but that didn't earn him any special treatment. For the first mock exam, Shiching put in a tremendous effort. He realized all the material was familiar and he could handle it with ease. He figured a final push before the Gaokao would be enough. So he became even more reckless. When the two of them had nothing in common, academic performance was the only topic Shiching could bring up. As the deadline drew closer, Shiching clearly began to struggle. Concepts he once knew became hazy in his mind, and the problems he couldn't solve remained unsolved. So, Shiching blamed his slipping grades on the fact that he hadn't even started studying hard yet. His scores had dropped from the first-tier university cutoff to the second-tier, yet, far from being worried, he actually thought this showed how clever he was. Come the college entrance exam, I'll be a dark horse, I'm going to amaze everyone. His mother was furious at first, but after seeing his outstanding results in the first mock exam, she changed her tune, thinking it would be even better if he could get into a top-tier university. In the end, I underperformed on the college entrance exam, doing even worse than before. For a graduating senior, a real break is a luxury. So I haven't seen him once since we graduated. Sitting in the passenger seat, Shiching looked bloated, wearing thick glasses. He seemed dazed and vacant. With a scruffy, unshaven face, the confident, vibrant energy of youth was gone, replaced by a timid, self-conscious air that didn't belong to someone his age. When Shiching noticed me, his eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. When Shiching studied me carefully through the rearview mirror. After a long pause, he suddenly asked, "You're about to graduate, right? Are you planning for grad school, the civil service exam, or going straight into a job?" I calmly adjusted my mask. "Haven't decided yet. I'll just take it one step at a time. I've already been through university once. I started planning early, cut out unnecessary effort, and went straight for what I wanted." Shiching was clearly displeased with my answer. "Sigh, times are tough for everyone right now. As long as you've tried your best, you won't have any regrets." His way of speaking felt oddly familiar. Just then, Shiching answered a phone call, and his tone instantly softened. "Mom, don't worry, I'll listen to you this time. Whatever you want me to learn, I'll learn it. I'll do whatever you say." From his constant nodding, it's clear that Shiching has lost all standing in the family. Before getting out of the car, Shiching waved casually, pretending to be at ease, and said, "Goodbye. Who wants to bid you farewell? It's best if we never cross paths again." I discreetly inquired about Shiching's situation and was utterly shocked. Shiching didn't get into a prestigious university. He's still a high school student. He's already repeated his final year 4 times and has sat the national college entrance exam 5 times. During the holidays, his household was a picture of maternal kindness and filial piety. One day, She came to invite the whole family to a college acceptance celebration. The university name she mentioned was highly prestigious, but her unusually low-key demeanor was completely out of character. Shiching was practically dragged to the table to toast the relatives and friends, moving like a puppet on strings. Just then, a student's parent, who had been mocked by Shi's mother 4 years prior, showed up uninvited. She handed over a red envelope with a slight smile, mentioning that her child had also been admitted to this university for graduate studies this year, and asked Shiching what his major was. An awkward silence fell over the gathering. The question was left hanging in the air. What are they trying to demonstrate? 8. Once the holiday was over, I got back to my studies. I told my best friend, Hiwei, all about it. My best friend burst out laughing, saying I was adorably naive. We ended up talking about it all night. Shiching had flunked the college entrance exam even after repeating his final year 4 times, and he and his girlfriend had already broken up. He enrolled in a vocational college, just to save face in front of the neighbors. At first, he was brimming with confidence. I'm aiming for a top-tier university. I won't settle for some ordinary school. His Gaokao scores just kept getting worse with each attempt. Being a repeat student was tough enough, but the psychological strain of multiple retakes and a cold war with his girlfriend pushed him right out of the undergraduate cutoff range. Many cram schools were hesitant to take him once they heard about his history of retaking the exam. We have to consider your Gaokao scores, and yours don't meet our requirements. The school was also afraid he couldn't handle the pressure. They couldn't be held responsible if something happened to him. He visited every high school, constantly checking their college admission rates. The schools willing to accept him didn't meet his standards, and the ones he liked were out of his reach. He became utterly dejected, questioning his life with a naive, almost laughable student mindset. It was only then that he was filled with regret, realizing his first college entrance exam score was actually his peak performance. He squandered that life-changing opportunity, but soon enough, he found his confidence again. He was still young. The college entrance exam was hellishly difficult, but getting into a bachelor's program from a college diploma should be manageable. At least he still had his wonderful girlfriend, who had stuck by him all along. Shiching wanted to move to the city where Han Xingyue lived. Han Xingyue, whom he had kept in sporadic contact with, had been unusually kind to him these past few months. It was all a bit odd, but he didn't sweat the small stuff, his ambition burning as fiercely as ever. I'll get my bachelor's degree, then go for a master's, then a PhD. I'm only 4 or 5 years behind my peers. I'll catch up in no time. Taking it step by step is fine, but I've heard this speech 100 times before. The same tone, the same look. It's always about studying, never anything else, and right now, you're not just a little behind, you're miles off the pace. Han Xingyue had long since come to her senses. University is a microcosm of society, where vast class disparities lurk beneath the veneer of freedom and equality. Even if she had once been a hopeless romantic, that naivety had long since been worn away. What began as a teenage infatuation now had to face the realities of work and adult life. With a clear conscience, she knew she had already waited 4 years. Besides, she hadn't worked her way into a prestigious university just to listen to some immature kid spin empty promises. Shiching panicked, and the meeting ended on a sour note. 9. I'd gained some work experience, earning money while studying. My mentor was very supportive of my work. This time, I started a company with the help of a startup grant and ran it successfully, because I caught the industry at the right moment. I secured investment. My mentor was full of praise for me and often commended me in front of the younger students. This is Senior Wenmu. She started her own company at such a young age. You should all learn from her. On my teacher's recommendation, I gave a speech for the school's centennial celebration and, while I was at it, interviewed a batch of new hires. Everything was going well, but to my surprise, Shiching was among them. I only knew that Shiching had left our hometown, but I never expected to run into him here. Shiching looked flustered and panicked, dressed simply, his hands fidgeting restlessly with nowhere to settle. After the ceremony, he and I found a place to talk. You've become so accomplished now. You too. Shiching rubbed his nose. I heard you started a company. Are you hiring? Just send it to the company email, and HR will handle it. In the end, I paid the bill and left, while Shiching sat for a while longer before leaving. I looked back and saw his receding figure, and I couldn't help but sigh with profound melancholy. In your past life, you were clearly an outstanding individual among ordinary people, living a life of comfort and stability, yet, for the sake of a fleeting, illusory hope, you chose to harm an innocent me. The life you have now is entirely of your own making. Shiching falsified his academic credentials and was consequently not admitted. Han Xingyue, on the other hand, remains as outstanding as ever. Believing she deserved better, she left the city where she studied for greater opportunities in a bigger metropolis, which led to their breakup. Shi Shiqing had no formal education or connections, and faced repeated rejections in his job search. He took on sporadic, entry-level jobs, then quit to coast along, only to look for work again, occasionally spending his nights at clubs. Nothing good ever comes from murky waters. A local hoodlum offered him a new job, promising easy money and a fat paycheck. Shi Shiqing knew better than to think such a sweet deal would ever land in his lap. He had no illusions about his luck, but the neon-lit allure, fueled by alcohol, proved too strong. He was coaxed and prodded onto the gambling table, and after a few rounds, to his surprise, he had won a tidy sum. He counted the bills over and over. His initial thought was to quit while he was ahead, but once you've tasted easy money, it's hard to go back to a dull, dead-end life. He'd had more than enough of that. It took Shi Shiqing a mere 12 days to go from cautious first steps to being hopelessly addicted. He was saddled with massive gambling debts he couldn't repay. He couldn't face his parents anymore. Shi Shiqing felt he was losing his mind, as the sudden realization hit him that he had lost everything. As a last resort, he called Han Xingyue, but the moment he mentioned borrowing money, she hung up. When he tried calling back, the line was dead. With no other options left, he had to swallow his pride and confess everything to his parents. To raise the money, Shi's mother sold off the family's assets and borrowed from every friend and relative, but it was still a drop in the bucket. After years of hardship, Shi's mother's health had deteriorated to the point where she could no longer endure the strain, and she collapsed. Shi Shiqing wept like a child at her bedside. He was filled with regret. If only he had followed his parents' plan, studying, working, getting promoted, buying a car and a house, marrying and having children. What a wonderful life he would have now. When he resolutely chose to repeat the year, when he was taking exams in the cram school, when he saw his peers climbing higher and higher, he kept telling himself that a bright future awaited. But now, he knew with painful clarity that he had no future left. He had nothing left. On the very day Shi's mother passed away because they couldn't afford medical treatment, Han Xingyue sent Shi Shiqing a wedding invitation. He had assumed Han Xingyue was a gold digger who married a wealthy old man, but the invitation showed a handsome, young groom who wasn't even from a rich family. Shi Shiqing, my husband and I cordially invite you to our wedding. What's done is done. Shi Shiqing journeyed from afar to the wedding. The venue was simply yet warmly decorated, and from the guests' well wishes, he learned that Han Xingyue and her groom were an ideal couple, partners in growth and in love. I wonder how Shi Shiqing felt, seeing his ex-girlfriend marry a genuinely good, ordinary man. In his past life, what was the reason he never ended up with his white moonlight? Not that I'm interested. The wedding proceeded smoothly and concluded perfectly. 10. I attended the funeral of Shi Shiqing's mother. Barring a few exceptional circumstances, she was genuinely kind to me. There weren't many mourners, and amidst the hushed conversations, the topic of whether debts could be repaid on time surfaced again and again. There were even debt collectors present. Shi Shiqing arrived, looking weary from his journey, with bloodshot eyes. I was just about to head home when he suddenly grabbed me. When you, he looked terrifying. Shouldn't you be trying to stop me from repeating the year? You must like me, right? Why didn't you stop me? He grabbed me by the neck and shouted, it's all your fault, all of it. I used his momentum to execute a shoulder throw, and he landed flat on his back. Do you really think I'm still that Wenmu who could be pushed around? I am now Neohuru Wenmu. I learned Sanda in a university PE class, found it useful and kept practicing. I never thought it would actually come in handy. Years of immense pressure had already worn Shi Shiqing's body down to nothing. He couldn't withstand a single fall. I heard him clearly, then turned and walked away without a second glance. In our past life, I tried to talk you out of retaking the exams, but you dragged me down with you. Now, in this life, you got exactly what you wanted, so why the regret? How dare Shi Shiqing have the nerve to blame me? I'm not even anything to him. That's just insane. After that, I never saw Shi Shiqing again. I moved with my family. Later, our house was demolished and we got a compensation payout. My parents have been traveling non-stop, both domestically and abroad. My only regret is that I never started a family and had children of my own, but they're in no hurry. Getting married and having kids isn't a mandatory part of life, but my precious daughter must have a child of her own. I sifted through the sperm bank profiles in my hands, choosing with even greater care. Story 2. I fell in love with my brother, Zhao Yandong, who has no blood relation to me. I pestered him persistently and eventually got pregnant, and finally married him. After marriage, he doted on me, but he rarely touched me. the last time I took the initiative to approach him, he said with a cold face, Song Jianan, don't you know what shame is? My heart gradually died, but I accidentally returned to the night when we first met. He was enchanted by me, however. I pushed him away and moved out of the Zhao family's house overnight. I even started a new relationship at a lightning speed, just to show him my determination not to pester him anymore. But Zhao Yandong lost his composure and blocked me downstairs at the dormitory. Nan Nan, does your new boyfriend know that you were still with me 3 days ago? How dare you go on a date with him with these hickeys? 1. During a boring afternoon tea. The topic eventually shifted from jewelry and new clothes to men. My best friend Suing, who doesn't want to get married or have children, finished talking about her colorful love history. When she made everyone envious, she suddenly smiled and looked at me. However, our Nan Nan has the best taste. Mr. Zhao looks very capable at first glance. I was a bit stunned, poking at the cake on the plate, and suddenly lost my appetite. This is the 5th year of my marriage to Zhao Yandong. And the number of times we've been together after marriage can be counted on the fingers of one hand. Suing looked at me expectantly. Your Mr. Zhao just came back from a half-month business trip. Are you going to have a sweet reunion tonight after a short separation? 2. I smiled bitterly. He's working overtime tonight and staying at the company. Then have some fun in the office. It's more interesting. Suing pulled me up. Don't look so resentful. Let's go buy a new battle dress now. Go straight to his office. This time you have to listen to me. You drain him completely so that he has no energy to find other women. I was a bit dazed. Other women. I can guarantee that there are no other women outside for Zhao Yandong. But I'm not sure if there is someone in his heart. After all, in the few times we were together, it was always me who took the initiative. If I don't take the initiative, he will never touch me. 3. Suing helped me pick a battle dress that cost nearly 5 digits. After the salesgirl helped with dry cleaning and ironing, Suing ordered me to put it on immediately. I just wrapped a thin trench coat that I wore when I came. I felt a bit embarrassed, but Suing said, Nan Nan, I've been in love since I was 14 years old. I've dated as many men as crucian carps crossing the river. There are no exceptions for men in this world. They are all visual animals. Trust me, if you go up like this, he will definitely love you to death. 4. But Zhao Yandong was obviously an exception, or maybe he really had no feelings for me. When I walked into the president's office on the top floor, he just raised his head from the pile of documents on the desk. He glanced at me indifferently. You sit there and wait for me for a while. Then he continued with his work, and when I locked the door from the inside, untied the belt of my trench coat and walked in front of him. He frowned slightly and looked at me for a second, then continued with what he was doing. Even the handwriting of his signature didn't get messed up. It was not until 5 minutes later that he put down the pen, closed the file, and turned off the computer. After standing up, he looked at me expressionlessly. Nan Nan, put your clothes on properly. But I didn't listen to him. The trench coat fell lightly to the ground. The little black dress with silk satin and lace was as thin as a cicada's wing and couldn't even cover the roots of my thighs. Zhao Yandong's expression finally changed. The buttons of his clothes were buttoned all the way to the top, showing his usual cold and abstinent style. But at this moment, above the buttons, his extremely sexy Adam's apple rolled violently. His neatly trimmed sideburns revealed the skin behind his ears, which was slightly red. 5. Enduring my shyness. I wrapped my arms around his waist. Husband, do you like it? Zhao Yandong's body was very hot, but he still held down my restless hand and said in a deep voice, go home first. I don't know why, but my heart was filled with despair and a burning pain. I want to stay here. Nan Nan. Zhao Yandong was about to say something more, but I directly pushed him against the French window. I stood on tiptoe and kissed him. The boiling lava can devour everything. Even the cold iceberg should melt at this moment. At the end, Zhao Yandong had taken the initiative. I braced my hands on the cold glass. My fingertips left long wet marks on the foggy glass. Finally, my knees were against the soft carpet, and my whole body was trembling. When he carried me to take a shower, his movements were very gentle. I indulged unbearably and raised my face to kiss him again. Husband, I want more. But when Zhao Yandong looked at me, the remaining tenderness in his eyes suddenly turned into indifference. I was a bit at a loss and stared at him blankly. He pushed me away and his voice was even colder. Song Jianan, don't you know what shame is? I staggered and held on to the sink to stand firm, but Zhao Yandong turned around and went out. Tears welled up suddenly. Zhao Yandong, do you hate me so much? What responded to me was the sound of the door slamming shut. I took a hasty shower. wrapped in my trench coat and staggered away, when I got downstairs and was walking across the road in a trance. I don't know where a lunatic with a knife came from and stabbed me in the abdomen with a knife. 6. It was as if I had a very long dream, and when I opened my eyes again, I saw Zhao Yandong, who looked 6 years younger. At this moment, there was a look of confusion and desire on his young and handsome face. His eyes were filled with lust. I, who was 21 years old, was shamelessly straddling Zhao Yandong's body. I called him brother one after another, in a sweet and coquettish voice. Zhao Yandong seemed unable to hold back any longer, and he turned over and pressed me under him again. At this moment, I gradually came to my senses, but I suddenly pushed him away. It was this night that I got pregnant with Yang Yang. With this child, I forced Zhao Yandong to marry me. 7. In the 5 years of our marriage, Zhao Yandong rarely had happy moments, only that one time. I accidentally saw him talking to a girl wearing a white coat. She was beautiful and innocent, his expression was very gentle, and a smile in his eyes flowed naturally. The picture of them standing together was indescribably harmonious and well-matched. Perhaps from that moment on, my obsession gradually faded away. If it weren't for my seduction and entanglement, there wouldn't be a child. Zhao Yandong wouldn't have to marry me out of helplessness and be separated from the girl he liked. 8. Brother, we were just drunk. I will pretend that nothing happened tonight. I don't want you to take responsibility either. I stepped back towards the door and bent down to put on my shoes. Zhao Yandong's voice gradually turned cold. What tricks are you trying to play this time, Song Jianan? There are no girls as shameless as you, seducing your own brother. It won't happen again in the future. I forced a smile. Brother, I won't pester you anymore in the future. You can like the girl you like. You can marry the wife you want to marry. You don't have to be entangled by the shameless Song Jianan for the rest of your life anymore. I turned around, opened the door, and walked out of the room in big strides. I went downstairs to buy some medicine, then I called a car and went directly back to the Zhao family's house. I casually packed some personal belongings and moved to Su Ying's place overnight. When I left, my adoptive mother, Mrs. Zhao, just persuaded me a few words and didn't stop me. I know that in my previous life, when I married Zhao Yandong, it was a worry in her heart, in her eyes. Her only son, Zhao Yandong, whose background, appearance and ability were all impeccable. His wife shouldn't be an ordinary orphan girl like me. I won't be so stupid in this life. 9. 3 days after I moved out of the Zhao family's house, in the WeChat group where both Zhao Yandong and I were in, someone suddenly sent a photo. God, is this the goddess Zhou Bijuan? She's back in the country. Brother Dong, is she here for you? I clicked on that photo. The girl in the photo had a beaming smile. Her face gradually overlapped with the woman I saw in my previous life. Someone sent another screenshot of a moment's post. The jade is going back to its rightful owner, Zhao. The accompanying picture was a photo of a very fine concentric white jade pendant. It was carefully held in the hand of a very handsome man. I recognized it at a glance. That hand belonged to Zhao Yandong. His fingers were very long and his nails were neatly trimmed. There was a very small mole on the pulp of his index finger. That night, I kissed that hand. I felt that my whole body was trembling, and my hands were shaking so much that I could hardly hold my phone. This is clearly an official announcement post. It's just short of Brother Dong's name, but they were in a good relationship before. Why didn't they end up together later? It's all because of Song Jianan. She couldn't wait to stick to Brother Dong every day and broke up this couple. The group was silent for a moment, and someone changed the topic. I smiled self-deprecatingly and turned off my phone. Yes, the jade should go back to Zhao, and the clown should consciously step down. 10. Zhao Yandong felt a bit restless as he looked at the boring chat in the group. Song Jianan, who used to have countless WeChat messages and phone calls every day, but there had been no news from her in these 3 days. He simply threw away the cards in his hand and went out to smoke. Mrs. Zhao happened to call and asked him if he wanted to come back for dinner in the evening, but he suddenly asked, "What is Song Jianan doing? Is she annoying you again?" Mrs. Zhao was obviously in a good mood. This child insisted on moving out and going to her best friend's place. I thought that since the child has her own opinions when she grows up, I didn't stop her. She moved out. Yes, she's been out for 2 days. Zhao Yandong hung up the phone. The feeling of stuffiness in his chest became even stronger. Song Jianan had loved to pester him since she was a child, and shamelessly said that she was his little bride. When she grew up, she tried all kinds of ways to seduce him. He had drunk a couple more glasses that night, and was really seduced by her into bed, but she said that they were both drunk, and they should just pretend that nothing happened. And she didn't even want him to take responsibility. 11. Thinking of this, Zhao Yandong couldn't help but laugh out of anger, but a clear female voice sounded behind him. Yandong, it really is you. Zhao Yandong turned around and saw Zhou Bijuan. She stood there smiling, with bright eyes and a stunning beauty. Long time no see. Zhao Yandong nodded slightly and casually moved his gaze away. Long time no see, Yandong, let's have dinner together later. Zhou Bijuan looked at the man in front of her, and the admiration in her eyes couldn't be hidden. Over the past few years, she had many suitors. She had also met all kinds of outstanding men, but none of them could compare to him. Only he was worthy of her. Just as Zhao Yandong was about to refuse, his phone rang. He lowered his head and unlocked the screen. It was still a message from the group. Someone sent a screenshot of Song Jinan's Moments post. A minute ago, she officially announced her new boyfriend. In the photo, the two of them were snuggling closely together. And Song Jinan was smiling very sweetly. She was 100 times sweeter than when she straddled his waist that day and lied to him that she loved him so much. Zhao Yandong's handsome face suddenly darkened. 12. Yandong, what's wrong with you? You look so bad. When a soft hand reached out and was about to touch his furrowed brow, Zhao Yandong directly took a step back to avoid it. I still have something to do. I'm leaving first. Yandong, can't you have a meal with me? Zhou Bijuan's voice trembled slightly, as if it was going to break the next second, but Zhao Yandong just looked at her misty eyes indifferently. There's no need, Yandong, you're still angry with me, aren't you? The tears that Zhou Bijuan had been holding back fell. Russell, Miss Zhou. You're overthinking it. Zhao Yandong was in a very bad mood and didn't even want to be perfunctory at this moment. He turned around and walked towards the elevator, took out his phone and called his assistant. Go and check what Song Jianan has been doing these days. Zhou Bijuan stared blankly as Zhao Yandong walked into the elevator without looking back. She didn't even notice that her bag had fallen to the ground. How could this be? Why did the development of things go completely different from what she had expected? Zhou Bijuan unconsciously looked at her own figure in the mirror. From head to toe, she was all exquisite and so beautiful that it made people's hearts flutter. But Zhao Yandong had only looked at her twice just now, and those two glances didn't show the slightest surprise or emotion. In Zhou Bijuan's beautiful eyes, a layer of darkness gradually covered them. 13. When my best friend Suing and I returned to the dormitory in the evening, we unexpectedly saw Zhao Yandong's car parked downstairs of the dormitory. As soon as Suing saw Zhao Yandong, she immediately poked me gossipingly. Nan, your brother is here to find you. Is this the first time? Sure enough, the more serious a man is, the more sullen and lustful he is. You said before that no matter how you seduced him, he was indifferent. I don't think he was indifferent. He just enjoyed the feeling of you seducing him too much. But it's really exciting that an abstinent male god turns into a possessive and crazy person when he's jealous. You're probably going to be exhausted by him tonight. You're thinking too much. Suing. I smiled helplessly. He really doesn't like me, even though that night, he was deeply indulged and even wanted to have a second time insatiably. It was just driven by alcohol and desire, after all, in his eyes. I'm always a scheming and shameless person who seduces my brother. I still remember the day of my 17th birthday. I drank alcohol for the first time and took the opportunity to confess to him. The look in his eyes when he looked at me was filled with unconcealable coldness and disgust, and since then, he moved out of the Zhao family's house and lived alone. He even started to avoid me openly and secretly, but at that time, I was young and ignorant, and I didn't know where my courage came from. The more Zhao Yandong avoided me, the more obsessively I pestered him, until 3 days ago, I finally got what I wanted. In my previous life, I was complacent and full of hope because of his indulgence that night. It wasn't until 5 years into our marriage, that I finally woke up from that ridiculous dream. The sharp knife stabbed into my body again and again, and the intense pain was still like a maggot attached to the bone, reminding me day and night, don't make the same mistake again. Stay as far away from Zhao Yandong as possible. It would be best if we never met again in this life. When you like someone, why do you have to selfishly possess him with so-called love? Nan, come here. Zhao Yandong extinguished the cigarette, and his handsome face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. I've been a bit afraid of him on ordinary days, especially when he is wearing formal attire and has a cold expression. As Suing said, I'm timid but also daring, ever since I was a child. Whenever Zhao Yandong glanced at me, my legs would go weak with fear. But surprisingly, when I grew up, I had the audacity to pester him persistently. Looking back now, I don't know where I got the courage that night. I asked the person I called brother to go to a hotel with me. Suing whispered in my ear. It feels like his eyes are about to eat you up, baby, hurry up and go, if you don't go. The knives in his eyes will almost stab me to death. Suing gave me a gentle push and then turned around and ran away without being loyal. I could only muster up the courage to walk up to Zhao Yandong. I stood there obediently and spoke properly. Brother, you were looking for me. I even used honorifics. I haven't been this obedient in 10 years combined from my 2 lifetimes. I hope Zhao Yandong can see my determination and sincerity. 15, however. Just like in my previous life, no matter how hard I tried, he couldn't treat me as intimately as an ordinary couple. It's the same now. Zhao Yandong is completely indifferent to my obedience and repentance. Are you in a relationship? Zhao Yandong's tone of voice was as calm as ever, and it was impossible to tell whether he was happy or angry. I summoned up the courage to look up at him and said, yes, we just confirmed our relationship today. Zhao Yandong seemed to let out a laugh. Just as I was about to heave a sigh of relief, he spoke again. And his voice was as cold as if it had been quenched in ice, making people's hearts tremble with coldness. Nan, does your new boyfriend know that you were still in my bed 3 days ago? He slowly took a step forward and raised his hand to grip my chin. There were still a few patches of mottled hickeys on my slender neck, and Zhao Yandong's eyes suddenly narrowed. How dare you go on a date with him with these hickeys on your body, brother? I was greatly alarmed and said. We were both drunk that night, it was just an accident. I said I would pretend that nothing happened, and I took the medicine as soon as possible. As I said this, my heart suddenly ached with soreness. Yes, things have changed in this life. I took the medicine and won't get pregnant again. In this world, there will never be a sweet and soft baby calling me mom again. When I was pregnant with Yang Yang in my previous life, my pregnancy was full of twists and turns. Later, I had an unexpected premature birth, and then I suddenly had amniotic fluid embolism during the operation. The doctors and nurses had to change my blood countless times before they could pull me back from the brink of death. Yang Yang was a precious baby that I risked my life for. Thinking of the things in my previous life and Yang Yang whom I would never see again, I felt as if my heart was being torn apart, and my eyes instantly turned red. 16. I don't know if the way I was about to cry made Zhao Yandong feel a bit of pity. He released his hand, and even his voice became a bit milder. What kind of medicine did you take? An emergency contraceptive pill. I took a deep breath, holding back my tears, and forced a relaxed smile. It's better to avoid some unnecessary troubles as early as possible, just in case it delays you. This way, he could be with the girl he liked, thinking of Zhou Bijuan in both lifetimes. I felt a bit sour and a kind of indescribable discomfort in my heart. If I hadn't accidentally gotten pregnant, Zhou Bijuan should have married Zhao Yandong long ago, right? Delay me, Song Jianan. When you confessed to me at the age of 17, why didn't you think that it would cause me trouble? 3 days ago, when you got drunk and asked me to go to a hotel with you, why weren't you as rational as you are now? It was you who said you liked me and loved me and tried every means to sleep with me. Now it's also you who said it was just an accident and wants to distance yourself from me completely. Zhao Yandong sneered. You're so young but have no sense of shame and play with others at will. Song Jianan, have you learned all your upbringing in the Zhao family and thrown it to the dogs these years? I looked at him helplessly, not knowing how to defend myself. If I could be reborn a little earlier, then none of this would have happened, and we wouldn't have ended up in such an embarrassing situation now. But unfortunately, I had a relationship with him. From Zhao Yandong's perspective, I was indeed hopeless and really had no sense of shame. But how could I explain it to him? Who would believe it if I told them about being reborn? I know you hate me and don't like me. I also know that I woke up too late. But now that things have come to this, brother, tell me what I should do so that this matter can be put behind us. 17. Zhao Yandong raised his hand and loosened his tie. There was an indescribable restlessness and displeasure filling his chest. He clearly didn't like girls like Song Jianan. She was impulsive, bold, and always acted without thinking of the consequences. She was completely different from the gentle and decent girls in the Zhao family. None of his cousins or siblings had ever dared to be as unruly and disorganized as her. The first time she confessed to him at the age of 17, he was initially shocked, and in the end, he felt a bit of disgust and resistance. At that time, his relationship with Zhou Bijuan was still quite good, but ever since Song Jianan confessed to him, the situation started to change strangely. He deliberately distanced himself and avoided suspicion, but he couldn't help but keep an eye on everything about Song Jianan. Over the years, he had watched coldly, yet at the same time, He had morbidly enjoyed Song Jinon's persistent pursuit and entanglement despite repeated setbacks. On that night, somehow, he was bewitched by her and went to the hotel with her, and when she shamelessly pounced on him, he clearly wasn't drunk, but he still let the slight drunkenness consume him. He indulged himself and sank into it, but Song Jinon suddenly pushed him away. She even distanced herself from him without hesitation. She moved out of the Zhao family's house overnight, and then she simply started a relationship with a new boyfriend. But how could she, after having such an intimate relationship with him, just turn around and throw herself into the arms of another man? 18. When they were on a date today, did that man kiss her and hug her the way he did? Zhao Yandong felt that he was about to go crazy with jealousy, and when the word jealousy flashed through his mind, he was stunned for a few seconds. How could he be jealous of Song Jinon's boyfriend? He clearly didn't like her, but was it really true that he didn't like her? If he didn't like her, why did he kiss her and want her and not expose her clumsy tricks? If he didn't like her, why did he reject Zhou Bijuan's confession? If he didn't like her, why did he let her pester him all these years? Zhao Yandong always felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't quite figure out what it was. It was just that many times. He always had a strange feeling that there was some invisible force pulling him. Every time his relationship with Song Jinon was slightly improved, he would break her heart severely, and in the past, Song Jinon would always soothe herself quickly and come back again, but this time, it seemed that she really wanted to give up. When she looked at him with red eyes and on the verge of crying just now, Zhao Yandong never knew that his heart could also ache. The look in Song Jinon's eyes at that time was truly full of grief and despair, making people feel uncomfortable. He even really wanted to hold her tightly and comfort her, but the words that came out of his mouth always went against his original intention. In fact, he had never thought that she was shameless, nor did he ever think that there was anything wrong with her. Zhao Yandong didn't know why he had become such a contradictory and indecisive person that even he himself despised. But there was one thing he was certain of. He couldn't accept Song Jinon being with someone else. 19. I've already said it. Break up with him. Why? You haven't graduated from university yet. You can't be in a relationship now. I felt like crying and laughing at the same time. Brother, is there such a rule in the Zhao family? Since you mentioned the Zhao family has raised you for so many years. Can't you even be obedient about such a small thing? Since I could remember, Zhao Yandong seemed to be like this. He was naturally cold-hearted, and the younger generation in the family was afraid of him, but he happened to have a face that was most capable of bewitching people. When I was young and in my prime, he was in my dreams every time. If he was a little bit nicer to me once, I could be happy for a very long time, but it happened very rarely. He didn't like me much. He tolerated me, perhaps just because I was adopted by the Zhao family. He couldn't be as harsh on me as he was to other siblings. 20. Okay, I'll find an opportunity to make it clear to him. I'll break up with him first and get back together with him after I graduate from university. Anyway, a few months won't make a difference. I felt very tired. It's hard to stay sober and rational when facing someone you like, but this time, I had to be sober and rational enough to push him away forever. You're not allowed to get back together, Song Jinon. Zhao Yandong held my shoulders and gently pressed me against the car body. Brother, I widened my eyes and horrified and forgot to push him away, and the next second, Zhao Yandong suddenly lowered his head and gently kissed me. You're already mine. No one else can touch you except me. Nan Nan, remember every word I said today. 21. It had been a long time since Zhao Yandong's car drove away, and I still couldn't come back to my senses. In a trance, I had a strange premonition. Even though I was trying my best to avoid the tragedies of my previous life from happening, it seemed that there was still an invisible force, driving each of us to step onto the same path again, and at this moment, when the car drove out of the school gate, Zhao Yandong suddenly felt a sharp pain in the depths of his heart. His face showed pain, and he raised his hand to press against his chest, but the pain couldn't be contained, and a fishy sweetness welled up in his throat. When the driver was so shocked that he suddenly braked to a stop, Zhao Yandong turned his head and spat out a mouthful of blood. The smell of blood filled the entire car, and the driver's voice was trembling. Mr. Zhao, I'll take you to the hospital right away. But Zhao Yandong pressed against his heart, which felt numb, and waited until the pain subsided. Then he said hoarsely, no need, take me back, Mr. Zhao, I'm much better now. Take me back first. Zhao Yandong frowned deeply. He was such a wise and almost demonic person. He had faintly sensed that something was strange. However, He needed to verify his speculations and thoughts again. 22. On the weekend, as soon as Su Ying and I returned to her rental house, Zhao Yandong suddenly called, "Nan Nan, where are you now?" "I'm at Su Ying's house. I'll come to pick you up later, brother." "Do you have something to talk to me about?" "Yes, I do." I hesitated for a moment but still agreed. "Okay, I'll wait for you at Su Ying's house." As soon as the call ended, Su Ying dragged me into her cloakroom, pick out a dress and change into it. I shook my head. "Su Ying, there's really no need for this. I've already made things clear with my brother. Come on, Linley likes men and asked you to be a shield in front of his parents. You can just use him as a shield to deceive Zhao Yandong. You clearly still like him in your heart, and he, ever since you two slept together, has obviously changed his attitude towards you. Why don't you strike while the iron is hot? The fruit of a forced twist is not sweet. He is a responsible man. Maybe he just thinks that since it was my first time, he should take responsibility." I was a bit listless. I didn't know if it was due to my emotions or other reasons. Anyway, I felt very uncomfortable and couldn't muster up any energy at all. Su Ying was a bit frustrated. "Come on, Song Jianan, do you think a high IQ man like Zhao Yandong at the top of the pyramid, if he doesn't want to jump into those so-called traps, schemes, and pitfalls, who can make him do it? And as for so-called responsibility, he has 1,000 ways to solve your problem. Why does he have to take responsibility for you? He didn't say he would take responsibility for me either." I covered my lower abdomen and thought dazedly. In my previous life, it was because I was pregnant that he married me as soon as I graduated. The wealthy attach great importance to bloodlines. Maybe this is the most important reason why he would take responsibility, but no matter what the reason was, Zhao Yandong treated me and Yang Yang extremely well. He was a good husband and a good father. "Nan Nan, I always feel that you've been very strange these days. Are you hiding something from me?" Su Ying touched my forehead. "You don't look well either. Are you feeling unwell?" I shook my head. "I'm fine. I'll be okay after adjusting for a few days." Su Ying was still worried. "I always feel like you've become a different person. You're not noisy or lively anymore. You're so well behaved that it makes people uncomfortable. People always have to grow up." I hugged Su Ying and shook her gently. In both lifetimes, she was my best friend. No matter what I did, Su Ying always supported me wholeheartedly. She was just so warm-hearted and loyal. It's a pity that I died too early and didn't know what happened to Su Ying later. 23. When Zhao Yandong arrived downstairs, he called me. I went downstairs and got into the car, but he didn't say what it was about. He just took me to my favorite restaurant. Then I was surprised to find that Zhao Yandong knew my preferences like the back of his hand. Moreover, throughout the meal, he was extremely gentle and considerate towards me. If it hadn't been for meeting Zhou Bijuan at the end, tonight would definitely have been the most wonderful night in my 21-year life. I wasn't wearing a beautiful dress, and because I wasn't feeling well, I didn't even put on much makeup, but Zhou Bijuan was dazzlingly beautiful. She was wearing a Chinese-style dress, and that concentric jade pendant was tied to her belt. When she appeared in the restaurant with that handsome and dashing man, almost all the men were secretly looking at her. I secretly paid attention to Zhao Yandong. He didn't look at Zhou Bijuan, and his expression didn't change either. I thought about it and attributed it to the fact that Zhou Bijuan had brought a male friend with her. Zhao Yandong remained calm on the surface, but he was probably seething with jealousy inside. Otherwise, how could he not even glance at someone he knew? There must be something wrong when things are abnormal. But although Zhao Yandong didn't look at her, Zhou Bijuan took the initiative to come over and greet us. "Yandong. What a coincidence, you're having dinner with your sister." Zhao Yandong just nodded indifferently. "Nan Nan likes this restaurant." The smile on Zhou Bijuan's face seemed to freeze for a moment. It took her a while to say, "I also really like this restaurant. As soon as I returned to the country, I've been thinking about coming here to eat the fish." Zhao Yandong didn't reply. Instead, he just asked me, "Are you full?" I nodded. Zhao Yandong then called the waiter to settle the bill. Zhou Bijuan stood there feeling a bit awkward. The beauty with red eyes was even more pitiful. I couldn't even bear to watch it, but Zhao Yandong directly stood up and told me to leave, saying, "Take your time, Yandong and I are going back first." "Yandong." Zhou Bijuan murmured his name. Zhao Yandong didn't look back. Instead, he grabbed my arm and said, "Watch the way." I followed him out of the restaurant in a daze and entered the elevator. My mind was in a complete mess. It took me a long time to sort out some thoughts. He must have pulled me on purpose, deliberately to make Zhou Bijuan jealous. There was no other reason for him to do this. 24. However, we had already reached the underground parking lot. Zhao Yandong still showed no sign of letting go of his hand. "Brother." As soon as I called out, Zhao Yandong exerted a little more force with his hand and directly pulled me into his arms. The next second, he lowered his head and kissed me again. And this kiss was deeper and more forceful than the one at school that day. Zhao Yandong didn't let me go until I was almost out of breath, but he didn't say anything. He just gently wiped the moisture from the corner of my mouth and said, "Let the driver take you back." I was a bit stunned. He hadn't been drinking, and when he came to pick me up, he was clearly the one driving, but my heart still accepted it with a sour feeling. Perhaps he was going to wait for Zhou Bijuan. I didn't say anything and obediently got into another car. When the car drove out of the underground parking lot, I couldn't help but look back, but there, Zhao Yandong's figure was already gone. 25, leaning against the wall, Zhao Yandong stared at the pool of blood on the ground. This time, the pain came more violently, and he almost couldn't hold on until Song Jianan got into the car and left. And after spitting out this mouthful of blood, the unbearable pain disappeared. Previously, Zhao Yandong went to his own private hospital for a physical examination alone. He especially had his heart examined, but the examination report showed that his physical condition was very good. There was nothing abnormal with his heart. 2 hours later, Zhao Yandong saw today's physical examination report again in the doctor's office. There was still nothing abnormal, but what on earth caused such sudden angina pectoris and spitting of blood? He drove back to his private residence. He asked all the servants to leave and turned off all communication tools. He needed an independent and quiet space. He wanted to carefully think about all the things that had happened over the years. He started thinking from the day when Song Jianan confessed to him on her 17th birthday. He wouldn't miss any clue. 26. After Zhao Yandong took me out for a meal that day, we completely cut off all contact with each other. However, there was also no news of him getting back together with Zhou Bijuan in the circle. After getting through the initial pain and suffering, I finally seemed to completely accept this reality, but I didn't expect that the change would come so suddenly. When Suing was awakened by my groans, it was already late at night. She turned on the light while calling my name, Nan Nan. Suing was so scared that she started crying directly. At that time, I was curled up on the bed in pain, and the blood gushing out from below had already stained the snow-white bed sheets. I was taken to the hospital by an ambulance. The nurse directly pushed me, who had lost too much blood and was in a state of shock, into the emergency room. In my previous life, I encountered amniotic fluid embolism, which had a probability of 1 in 100,000, but fortunately, I had a lot of money and the best and top-notch medical resources, so I managed to survive against all odds. In this life, I had clearly worked hard, but the development of the situation still seemed to be out of control. I took the contraceptive pill, but it led to an ectopic pregnancy. The embryo ruptured, causing unbearable abdominal pain, massive bleeding, and I went into a coma due to shock. If Suing hadn't woken up that night, I didn't know what the final result would be. After waking up, I couldn't help but think in my mind, was it possible that this life would still end up the same way? No matter how hard I tried, I would still die prematurely in the end, maybe in a car accident or due to some other sudden accident. And was all of this a punishment from heaven for my past absurdity and ignorance when I was young? However, I had been desperately trying to control myself to stay away from Zhao Yandong and stop loving him. When Zhao Yandong came to see me, I didn't want him to see me crying like a weakling, so I pretended to be asleep. Zhao Yandong seemed to have stood by my bedside for a very long time. My body was about to become stiff, and my legs were numb. Then he bent down, gently tucked in the quilt for me, and turned to leave the ward. The sound of the door closing was very soft, but my tears suddenly burst out like a dam breaking. 27. After being discharged from the hospital, Mrs. Zhao took me back to the Zhao family. After raising a child for almost 20 years, she still felt sorry for me in the end. The people in the Zhao family were all very nice, but the nicer they were, the more it showed my despicability. My body was getting better day by day. I also started planning for the future. Getting certificates and finding a good and stable job, being able to support myself and gradually repay these people who loved me, that would make me satisfied. As for other things, I didn't have the energy to think about them. On the day I finished my confinement after the miscarriage, Suing kept calling me on voice chat. When I came back from a walk and just picked up my phone to answer, I heard Su Ying's urgent voice, "Nan Nan, have you seen the news? What happened?" Zhao Yandong and Zhou Bijuan had a public falling out. A falling out? Why? Because of a piece of jade. that very famous Hetian white jade concentric pendant, do you still remember it? Of course I remembered. Zhou Bijuan posted it on her moments, the one that Zhao Yandong carefully held in his hands. She was a very famous antique restorer. That jade pendant with a history of 1,000 years was restored by her own hands. Since then, Zhou Bijuan had become famous. Nan, just now. Zhao Yandong smashed this piece of jade. I was stunned. Su Ying, what did you say? The value of this piece of jade was inestimable. A renowned cultural relic collector had once offered a sky-high price of 1 billion yuan for it. I don't know what got into Zhao Yandong. First, he bought this piece of jade, and then he smashed it on the spot. Su Ying's voice was full of disbelief. Nan, how rich is your brother exactly? 28. I randomly clicked on the videos online. All kinds of heated discussions were already boiling and noisy. Every app push was the top trending topic. But Zhao Yandong must have done something because almost all the videos of the scene had been deleted. It took me a long time to find a few blurry pictures. That white jade pendant that he had once carefully held in his hands and cherished, it was shattered on the ground. Zhou Bijuan obviously couldn't accept it and shed tears on the spot. She knelt on the ground and cried so pitifully that it made people feel sorry for her. But Zhao Yandong's expression was very cold. He stood there, looking tall and elegant in a black suit, but his handsome face was like an iceberg that could never be melted. There was a terrifying chill emanating from his whole body. I had never seen him with such a serious expression. I didn't even dare to look directly at the picture. Just then, my phone suddenly rang. The name flashing on the screen was, Brother, 29. I was sitting in the car, next to Zhao Yandong. The car drove smoothly forward and finally stopped outside a luxurious store. Nan, Zhao Yandong took my hand and said, the time is tight, let's buy a pair of couple rings first. Couple rings. I was completely confused, but Zhao Yandong smiled and bent down to kiss me. The wedding rings have already been designed by the designer. I want to go to the international auction house abroad to select the diamonds myself. I know that a bought ring doesn't show enough sincerity, but Nan, I want to marry you, and I can't wait for even a single day. Brother, I don't understand, I don't get it. I was still confused. The man in front of me was the one I had liked since I was 16 years old. He had made me cry, laugh, and suffer, but I still loved him. However, the him standing in front of me at this moment seemed so unfamiliar. His eyes were only looking at me. The way he smiled at me was more tender than I had ever seen. He seemed to love me very, very much. But how could Zhao Yandong love Song Jianan? My tears welled up unconsciously, and I took a step back in a daze. Don't lie to me, brother. Don't play with me like this. I'll take it seriously. I shook my head, laughed, and then cried again. Zhao Yandong, we can't get married. We can't be together. I didn't want to die. And I didn't want to ruin his life either. Nan, do you still remember that you once studied antique restoration with Mr. Su? I immediately covered my ears. I don't remember anything. That was my most painful memory. I deceived myself and didn't want to mention it or recall it. I think Mr. Su also didn't want to remember it again. The beloved apprentice he personally recruited in the end would become a joke. Zhao Yandong held my hand, and his expression was very serious. Song Jianan, you were Mr. Su's most proud student. You shouldn't give up on yourself. The injury on your hand has long since healed. It won't affect every movement of yours when you restore cultural relics. No, you don't understand. Zhao Yandong, you don't understand at all. It wasn't just the injury. Everything had changed. I couldn't control that change. It was like a person who had some talent in a certain field, watching helplessly as their talent was lost overnight but being powerless to do anything about it. That feeling was too painful. I never wanted to recall it a second time in my life. I know, Nan, I know everything. Zhao Yandong held my hand and pulled me into his arms. He gently stroked my back and comforted me tenderly and patiently. It's all over, Nan. The plot of our story should return to the original right track. 30. What was the original right track like? She was adopted by the kind-hearted Mrs. Zhao when she was still in swaddling clothes. She grew up carefree until she was 16 years old. Mr. Su, who had a very close relationship with the Zhao family, accidentally discovered her amazing talent for antique restoration. At the age of 17, she was specially recruited into University B and became Mr. Su's favorite student. She was beautiful, intelligent, and diligent, willing to work hard. At just over 20 years old, she restored a national treasure antique of amazing value. Since then, she became famous and shone brightly. She even became a pearl of the Zhao family and Mrs. Zhao's proudest daughter. At the age of 24, she married her childhood sweetheart and elder brother, Zhao Yandong. After marriage, the couple loved each other deeply and had a son and a daughter. They were truly an example envied by everyone and were in love for a lifetime. Finally, they lived to the age of 90 and passed away of natural causes. They had a large family with many descendants, and all of them were intelligent and promising. The Zhao family was prosperous and flourishing, and it thrived from generation to generation. The real ending of the story was as perfect as it could be. However, in the previous life, the husband and wife were separated by life and death. In this lifetime, he would never let the same tragedy happen again. That concentric pendant that he personally smashed, if it hadn't been destroyed by him at this moment, then, in the near future, it would be restored by its true owner, his wife, Song Jianan. When she started restoring this concentric pendant back then, she was accidentally injured on her hand. After the injury healed, she lost the talent and ability that she was most proud of. In the end, she became an ordinary person, and this jade pendant, by a twist of fate, was restored by Zhou Bijuan, which made her gain great fame. It also led to the tragedy of their whole life, so this time, he destroyed the jade pendant, corrected the plot, and prevented that yet to happen tragedy. Perhaps it was the mercy of heaven. In this second life, she had the memories of her previous life, and he, after her rebirth, began to be frequently reminded by a strange dream. 31. He had never experienced such pain in his life. In that strange dream, he married Song Jianan, and they had a very cute and well-behaved son, but in the 5th year of their marriage, Song Jianan was stabbed 17 times in an accident, and each stab was fatal. When he rushed to the scene, she had already died. And almost all the blood in her body had flowed out, but only that face that always smiled brightly at him was intact. He walked over like a walking corpse. He knelt on the ground and tremblingly picked up her broken body, but his movements were extremely gentle, as if the bloody mass in his arms was all his treasure. The police, doctors, and nurses all arrived at the scene. They tried to pull him away, but it was all in vain. Finally, Zhou Bijuan came. Yandong, you can't be like this. Come with me quickly. If you continue like this, you'll die. He didn't understand why. Zhou Bijuan cried and said, Yandong, listen to me. I love you, and I won't harm you. We were meant to be a perfect match. Song Jianan is dead. She deserved it. Now the plot should return to the right track. You love me, Yandong. I'm the one who will finally marry you and have children for you. But he pushed Zhou Bijuan away fiercely. I have only one wife. In this life, the next life, and for all eternity, I have only one wife, he murmured and continued to kneel on the ground, carefully picking up her drooping hand. The wedding ring was still on her ring finger. She had never taken it off. She still loved him deeply until her death. For the first time in his life, Zhao Yandong shed tears. Those burning tears fell in big drops on her face and her broken body. His heart started to ache, and he spat out blood mouthful by mouthful. In the end, it even gushed out. Holding a white jade pendant, Zhou Bijuan kept murmuring, why is this happening? You clearly promised me that all the plot would go as I planned, but why doesn't he still love me? Zhao Yandong, Zhao Yandong. Zhou Bijuan crawled on her knees from the ground and tried to take off the wedding ring on his ring finger. Take off the ring, Zhao Yandong, forget her, please, Zhao Yandong, forget her, or you'll die. But her body was pushed away heavily again. Zhao Yandong was covered in blood as he held Song Jianan, who had already passed away. The two hands wearing their wedding rings were tightly clasped together. Blood spurted out from his mouth and nose, and his heart seemed to be breaking piece by piece, but he couldn't feel the pain. No matter how much pain he felt, could it be as painful as what Nan Nan had endured? It was only at this moment that he finally saw his own heart clearly. And it was also only at this moment that those invisible things that had controlled him were completely pulled out of his life. He finally understood that he had always been in love with her, even though the setting was like that in a script, which always made him lose control. But the heart that loves someone can never be fake. In his dream, he watched himself die. If there is a next life, if there is an afterlife, he will make her the happiest woman in the whole world, the happiest wife. 32. Zhao Yandong left. Zhou Bijuan was still kneeling on the ground, looking dazed. She didn't understand. Clearly, she was the female protagonist in the story. Clearly, she had stolen all of Song Jianan's good fortune. She became increasingly beautiful and dazzling, intelligent and sharp. She learned everything quickly and proficiently, and was surrounded and envied wherever she went. And Song Jianan, who was originally full of vitality, gradually became mediocre. in the end, she changed from Mr. Su's most proud student to a stain that no one wanted to talk about. Zhao Yandong should have reasonably pursued her and then married her. Song Jianan would have become an overly confident and whimsical woman, a cannon fodder who shamelessly pestered Zhao Yandong but was rejected by him. In the end, she would be driven out of the Zhao family and spend her life in a muddled and crazy state, but Zhou Bijuan just couldn't figure it out. Why did Zhao Yandong still like Song Jianan? Why was he still involuntarily attracted to her? Why, even though she was standing right in front of him, shining brightly, there was only the mediocre Song Jianan in his eyes? Clearly, it was she who had restored this jade pendant. Clearly, the story of each of them was supposed to proceed according to her plan. But why did the plot still get out of control? Now that the jade was broken, those fragments were taken away by Zhao Yandong, they would once again fall into Song Jianan's hands, and the story would once again return to its starting point. Everything was over, but everything would also start anew. Zhou Bijuan slumped to the ground in despair. She stared at the already empty gate, and finally, the tears in her eyes fell. So, is it true that what doesn't belong to you can't last forever even if you snatch it? Perhaps one day in the future, she will have an epiphany. The real female protagonist would never take things from innocent people, and from the moment she had those evil thoughts, she no longer deserved to be the female protagonist of this story. 33. It took me a whole month to restore that concentric jade pendant again. My hands were still a bit rusty, but most of that confident feeling from the past seemed to have returned. I think it won't be long before I can continue doing the thing I love the most, and currently, the most urgent matter is the upcoming wedding between me and Zhao Yandong. He was like a completely different person, gentle, patient, and clingy. We spent most of the day together, but Zhao Yandong still thought it wasn't enough. Every time he went on a business trip, he would take me with him. Suing was quite jealous of this, and the number of times we were together after marriage could be counted on the fingers of one hand, and every time I went out for less than 2 hours, Zhao Yandong couldn't wait to come and pick me up. Later, though, Zhao Yandong and I held a Chinese-style wedding. I asked Suing to be my only bridesmaid. I also gave her a big red envelope with a 6-figure amount and arranged for 10 extremely handsome guys to accompany her to eat, drink, and have fun, so Suing wasn't angry with me anymore. Also, this concentric jade pendant was decorated on my wedding dress. On our wedding night, both Zhao Yandong and I were very tired. I was tired from the weight of the phoenix coronet and embroidered dress, while Zhao Yandong was simply insatiable. It was as if he wanted to make up for all that he had owed in the previous life, doubling it back. In the end, he held me tightly and we slept with our necks intertwined. That night, we had the exact same dream. In the dream, Yang Yang was flying in the sky on a beautiful little white horse. He said, "Mom, I've been waiting for a long time and searching for a long time. Many people wanted to be my mom, but I looked carefully, and none of them were as good as you. I still want you to be my mom, but this time, Mom will have to work a little harder because I'm coming back to find you with my little sister." Story 2. When Lu Jincheng was blinded by a car while saving his beloved, his friends and family gradually abandoned him. Only I stayed by his side, devoting 6 years to pulling him out of the abyss, only to overhear on the day I found out I was pregnant, his brother questioning him about secretly marrying Bai Yuiguang while still being with me. Holding a cigarette casually in his hand, Lu Jincheng replied indifferently, "Su Wanyue is easy to deceive. As long as you all keep quiet, she will never find out." At that moment, I felt like my 6 years of dedication had turned into a joke. When I received the pregnancy report from the doctor, Lu Jincheng had disappeared. Eager to share the good news with him, I searched everywhere, only to accidentally find him chatting with his brother on the rooftop. His brother was saying, "Back when you were blinded in the accident and gave up on yourself, it was Su Wanyue who stayed by your side and helped you through the tough times, gradually getting you back on track. Yet you secretly married Jiang Xian without telling her. Aren't you afraid of how hurt she'll be when she finds out?" My heart skipped a beat, and I instinctively withdrew the step I was about to take, doubting whether I had heard wrong. After all, Lu Jincheng and I had just celebrated our first wedding anniversary, and I had just successfully conceived. However, after a brief silence, Lu Jincheng spoke nonchalantly, "Don't worry, I won't let Wanyue find out." "How long do you think you can keep this a secret?" His brother seemed not to support his actions. "Ah Chen, when you went blind trying to save Jiang Xian in that accident, she didn't even offer a greeting and left you at your most painful moment to go abroad with another man. What about this woman makes her so indispensable to marry? Xin didn't do it on purpose." Lu Jincheng suddenly interjected softly, His tone tinged with bitterness. She had her difficulties. If it weren't for me, her parents wouldn't have forced her to go abroad with another man. I promised to marry her and I won't go back on my word. As for Wanyue, she's very naive, very easy to deceive. As long as you don't tell her, she'll never find out the marriage certificate is fake. I'll treat her well in the future. I'll make it up to her. I couldn't listen anymore to what they said next. Under the setting sun, Lu Jincheng remained as upright and handsome as ever, elegant and distinguished. Yet a stranger from beginning to end. Just an hour ago, he was still tenderly holding my waist, hoping that my recent poor appetite was due to pregnancy, hoping that I could bear him a child. Now he was saying our marriage certificate was fake. I clenched the pregnancy report in my trembling hands, feeling weak all over, my mind buzzing with noise, unaware of when it started. The sky began pouring rain. I walked aimlessly in the rain, feeling the cold of summer for the first time. My body was numb with chill, and my lower abdomen hurt so much that I lost sensation. I am an orphan, having faced cold stares and bullying since childhood. In my first year of high school, when I was cornered and bullied by a group of girls in an alley, it was the passing Lu Jincheng who rescued me. He was young and still a stranger back then, yet he was like a beam of light illuminating my entire future. In that moment, I secretly harbored a crush on him, becoming just another girl among the many who admired him. I was fully aware of the gulf between us. And I also heard about a girl he liked named Jiang Xian. For years, I dared not hope for more, nor did I ever disturb him, until 6 years ago, when I accidentally learned of his accident and heard from friends how he couldn't accept his blindness, locking himself in his room day and night, smoking and drinking, alienating not just friends but also family. Even his own parents had given up on him. When I saw him in the other garden, he was slumped on the damp, cold floor, utterly broken. He threw things at me, cursed me, and tried to drive me away, just as he did with others, but I didn't back down. He had once brought light into my life, and I was determined to return that light to him, to help him escape from that cold, damp place. Perhaps it was my sincerity and resilience that moved him. From his initial strong resistance, he gradually adapted and began to recover, slowly emerging from his low point. Our relationship warmed over days and nights spent together. The day he was wheeled into the surgery room, he was visibly moved and grabbed my hand. Yeah, once my eyes are better, let's get married. Okay. With tears in my eyes, I nodded. Whether your eyes get better or not, we'll get married. The surgery was a success. His eyes regained their sight. And he didn't break his promise. He immediately took me to get our marriage certificate. Aside from being somewhat absent-minded that day, I didn't notice anything unusual. Over the past 6 years, I had been with him through his lowest points, helped him out of difficulties, and accompanied him as he climbed back to the peak of his life. In the end, it was all overshadowed by a mere glance at the past. Returning to the Banshan villa, as I stepped inside, Mrs. Lu sat on the sofa as she often did, her well-maintained face wearing its usual disdain upon seeing me. Before she could speak, I took the initiative. Mrs. Lu, I accept your terms. Mrs. Lu had never looked favorably upon me, nor had she accepted me, an orphan, as a suitable daughter-in-law for the Lu family. Throughout this year, I endured her public and private humiliations, her threats and temptations, all with a smile, because I loved Jinchen Lu. I didn't want to cause any conflict between him and Mrs. Lu. What did you say? You agree to take 50 million and leave the Lu family. Mrs. Lu looked incredulous. Yes, I agree. 6 years of youth traded for deceit. I saw no reason to stay. Mrs. Lu's furrowed brow relaxed, her relief mixed with scorn. Suyue, at least you have some sense. Since you've made up your mind, I'll transfer the money to your account tomorrow. I hope you can leave Jiangqing within a month. No need for a month. If I expedite the paperwork, 20 days will be enough. After Mrs. Lu left, I went back to my room and took a hot bath. When I emerged, I received a call from Jinchen Lu. He was as gentle as ever. Honey, why did you go back alone? Did you get the medical report? The doctor said it's nothing serious, so I came back first. Touching my abdomen, which had been in pain all night, I tried to suppress my sadness. That's good. Jinchen Lu didn't notice anything was off. Honey, there's an urgent matter at the company. I might need to go on a business trip for a few days. Okay, take care. Also, I placed our anniversary gift on the bedside table. Let me know if you like it. Okay, honey, I love you. Rest early. Jinchen Lu. How could he sound so tender and loving when telling lies? I wiped away my tears, looking at the velvet box on the table. He didn't mention it, and I almost forgot. Today is our first wedding anniversary. Inside the box is a gold bracelet with jade inlay. I remember this bracelet. I had admired it in a brochure of an international jewelry company last month. Unexpectedly, Lu Jincheng bought it. Less than 10 minutes after hanging up the phone, someone tagged me on social media, and when I opened it, it was a post from Jiang Xian visible only to me. Today is a special day, we got married. Photo 1, a blurred marriage certificate showing only the surnames. Photo 2, two hands wearing wedding rings tightly held together. Photo 3, a gold bracelet with jade inlay just like mine. Marked as wedding gift. Turns out, Lu Jincheng didn't just buy one of these bracelets. Turns out today is their wedding day. Numbly, I liked the post, took a screenshot, and logged out of WeChat. The second day Lu Jincheng was on a business trip, I turned on my phone, found myself tagged in social media again. This time it was just one photo, a distinguished man standing at the kitchen island carefully making breakfast. His familiar upright figure. Caption, my husband, tired from working all night. Still got up early to make me breakfast. I'm so lucky. I never knew Lu Jincheng could cook, yet in all these years, he never even boiled noodles for me. Turns out there's a difference between true love and feigned love. I followed the routine, liked the post, took a screenshot, and logged out of WeChat. Then I left the house, went to the hospital I had booked in advance for an abortion. The doctor asked me 3 times if I really wanted to terminate the pregnancy, lying on the cold operating table. I touched the fake marriage certificate in my pocket, closed my eyes, letting tears run down my cheeks. I didn't want to give up this child, but I couldn't let my life rot away because of it. In the hands of a scoundrel, I nodded decisively, as the embryo turned into a pool of blood and drained from my body. My heart was completely empty. The third day Lu Jincheng was on a business trip. Jiang Xian's social media showed the two on a beach vacation, their figures hand in hand strolling under the sunset. The romance nearly spilling out of the screen. Meanwhile, I, dragging my weakened body after the abortion, hurriedly processed my paperwork to go abroad. The fourth day Lu Jincheng was on a business trip. Jiang Xian's social media was punctually updated. On a 2-meter wide bed, the two of them embraced in sleep. The man's deep features tinted by the morning sun looked exceptionally handsome, with Jiang Xian lying in his arms, flashing a victory sign at the camera, and I started packing my bags. My luggage wasn't much, but over the last 6 years, Lu Jincheng had given me many gifts, large and small, those once treasured photos together, various small gifts. Now, they seemed ironic. I sorted out the valuable ones, the cheap ones, along with the fake marriage certificate and pregnancy report. I threw into a fire pit to burn. As I tossed a portrait that took me 2 months to complete into the fire, Lu Jincheng just happened to come back. He instinctively reached out to grab it, but was scorched by the flames and jerked his hand back. Wife, why are you burning the painting? He was still wearing the suit he had on when he left that day, his hair slightly disheveled, looking like he had been busy working until now, but the faint kiss marks under his shirt collar betrayed him harshly. I suddenly remembered, since Jiang Xian returned to the country last month, he had been busy like this several times. Each time, I would tenderly make him breakfast, and he would always hold me, kissing my forehead, saying, the best yaya in the world, I will love you forever, and every time, I would get lost in his sweet nothings, never doubting. The painting was ruined when I was cleaning, so I had no choice but to burn it. But you spent 2 whole months on that painting, even damaged, it was valuable. He looked at me with regret in his eyes. It's okay, I can paint another one when I have time, just don't overwork yourself. He examined me closely, then pinched my cheek. Honey, why do I feel like you've lost weight and look somewhat haggard? Is your stomach acting up again? I'm fine. Not wanting him to discover the secret of my recent abortion, I feigned calmness and acted coquettishly towards him. It's just that I've been missing you lately, since you weren't around. I'm sorry, honey, I've been really busy lately. He held me close, his heart aching for me. Using the most intimate language, he spoke the most trivial lies. The distance closed between us. The kiss marks under the collar of his shirt became increasingly visible. I almost threw up. To avoid arousing his suspicion, I suppressed my nausea. You must be exhausted these days. Why don't you go to the room and rest? Okay. He affectionately stroked my hair. Do you have plans tonight? I can take you to see a movie. There's a new art film that just came out. Sure, let's meet up tonight. In the afternoon, I went for a follow-up check at the gynecologist. I managed to collect all the reports before the office closed. They showed the abortion was successful. It was as if the child had been here and yet never had been, like a small stone that briefly stirred my heart and then slowly settled down. In the evening, I met Lu Jinchen at the cinema. He curiously noticed the papers in my hand. "Honey, what's that?" Without a change in expression, I stuffed the papers into my bag. "Just some test results I hadn't collected last time. I picked them up on the way." "Why didn't you tell me to come with you to the hospital? Why must it be you who accompanies me? After all, you won't be in my future. Because you've been too busy and tired recently." I smiled at him. Lu Jinchen sighed softly and embraced me lovingly. "Honey, I've indeed been busy with work, but I'll always make time for you whenever you need me." I stiffened in his embrace. A cold laugh spread from the depths of my heart. Whether he was busy with work or busy spending a honeymoon with his old flame, only he knew for sure. In the past, when he spoke such sweet nothings, I would have immediately hugged him tightly, kissed him, and told him I wanted to be with him forever. But today, "Ah Chen, Mrs. Lu, what a coincidence." Suddenly, a playful voice came from behind. I turned around. There stood Jiang Xian, not far away, wearing a deep V-neck red dress and her chestnut curly hair softly cascading around her, looking sexy and beautiful in the crowd. She looked at me, a smile in her eyes, but with a barely noticeable provocation hidden within. "A month ago, I met her once at Lu Corporation. At that time, I didn't know her purpose for returning to the country, and added her on WeChat after she took the initiative to be friendly." I glanced at Lu Jinchen beside me. Perhaps even he did not realize that the moment Jiang Xian appeared, he instinctively let go of me. "Jiang Xian, what are you doing here?" "I came to see the new movie. Are you guys fans too?" he asked. "Yeah, my wife loves it," Lu Jinchen replied, his initial panic replaced by a calm demeanor, emphasizing the word wife to subtly warn Jiang Xian not to play with fire. Jiang Xian's face visibly paled, and she bit her lip. "I'm really envious of Mrs. Lu, having her husband accompany her to the movies. You'll have that too, someday." Lu Jinchen avoided her gaze, pretending they were no longer close. Then he affectionately said to me, "Wife, let's go inside." I nodded. Under the dim lights, Jiang Xian's face turned even paler. Not long after the movie started, Lu Jinchen's phone began to light up continuously. He glanced at it and then dismissed the call. I pretended not to notice and continued to focus on the movie until he excused himself to go to the restroom. Only then did I take my eyes off the big screen and pick up my phone, just in time to see a message from Jiang Xian. "Mrs. Lu, what's so good about a movie? Why not come to the restroom, and I'll show you something explosive." I went as she suggested. Arriving at the restroom at the end of the mall, a deep warning voice echoed from a stall. "How many times have I told you not to show up in front of Su Wanyue?" "Why not? She's just a home wrecker." "A mistress, while I am your rightful wife," Jiang Xian protested. "Shut up. Wanyue is not a mistress. Everyone in the circle knows she went to that garden to look after you just to climb up the social ladder. And you're the only one protecting her." "Jiang Xian, have you forgotten our agreement?" Jiang Xian paused, then started to act coquettishly. "I haven't forgotten, I just missed you." "Don't you miss me at all? Look at yourself. You obviously want me too." His reproach quickly turned into a low groan. Shadows moved. He pressed her heavily against the door. "You little temptress, you're going to be the death of me. You were the one who said Su Wanyue is easy to deceive. Anyway, you can't be so reckless next time. And don't dress so provocatively, got it?" "Ah, honey, be gentle." Amidst the moans, Jiang Xian's red dress fell to the floor, like a blooming blood-red rose. I tightened my grip on my phone, struggling not to break down. Back in the car, I sent Lu Jincheng a message saying I had to go home early. I sat in the car, calming myself for a long time before starting the engine. Just as I drove off, a figure suddenly darted in front of the car and crashed into the front. I was startled and quickly got out to check, when I heard a familiar gasp nearby. "Xin Xin?" It was Lu Jincheng. He forcefully pushed me aside. I staggered, hitting my forehead hard against the car. It hurt, but he didn't spare me a second glance. Instead, he quickly picked up Jiang Xian from the ground. "Xin Xin, how are you?" Jiang Xian's face was deathly pale, her trembling hand covered in blood reaching out to me. "Su Wanyue, I already explained to you. I broke up with Chen a long time ago. Why did you still try to harm me?" I was speechless. This woman was really willing to hurt herself to frame me, and Lu Jincheng believed her. He glared at me, completely ignoring the swelling on my forehead from the impact. "Su Wanyue, how can you be so malicious? There were no surveillance cameras here. I didn't have a dash cam either." I was at a loss for words, but I still wanted to defend myself. Lu Jincheng, get it clear, who is the one losing their mind? Jincheng, it hurts so much, Jiang Xian sobbed, interrupting me. Lu Jincheng didn't want to hear another word from me. He tenderly picked her up from the ground. Su Wanyue, if anything happens to Xin, you'll have to pay with your life. He coldly threw out those words. He quickly walked towards his car. Jiang Xian peeked out from under his arm, mouthing at me, Mrs. Lu, you lose again. I laughed. Did I lose? But I no longer love this man who can't distinguish right from wrong. I was originally supposed to send the video I took in the restroom to Lu Jincheng, but I held back. I didn't want any unexpected issues to arise with my plans to go abroad. I just wanted to spend these last 20 days in peace. I went to the hospital alone to treat my wound, went home alone, slept alone, even in my dreams. I was alone, abandoned by loved ones, betrayed by a lover, lost in a vast crowd without a place to call my own. That night, I did not sleep well. When I woke up, I found Lu Jincheng sitting at the foot of my bed. Warm sunlight streamed in from the floor-to-ceiling window, casting fragmented shadows over him. His eyes, looking at me, were filled with the usual tender affection. My wife, you're awake. His slender fingers touched my forehead. I'm sorry, I lost control last night. Does it still hurt? It doesn't hurt. I sat up slowly and looked at him. Why would he, who hadn't come home all night, come back early in the morning to apologize? Had he finally realized his mistake? But it turned out he hadn't. Yeah, I broke up with Jiang Xian 6 years ago. We're just friends now. You didn't need to do something so dangerous because of her. He paused, seeing that I didn't respond. He continued, Jiang Xian is a pianist. Her hands are her life and livelihood, and now they're injured because of your impulsive act. So, he still believed Jiang Xian's words. Still thought I had intentionally bumped into her. In his heart, I was that vile and despicable. My hands clenched tightly under the blanket. I stared at him steadily. So, what now? He stumbled over my question, his gaze shifting slightly. So, I hope you can apologize to her, and we can put this behind us. He wanted me to apologize to that woman. I almost laughed out of anger. Did she ask for this? Lu Jincheng fell silent. Silence meant consent. It seemed Jiang Xian was deliberately provoking me. Yeah, I know you did it because you love me too much, but, Lu Jincheng, I cut him off lightly. Let me ask you, do you really understand me as a person? What do you mean? Do you really believe that I intentionally bumped into her? Yeah, nobody jokes with their own life. He frowned. He didn't believe me at all. In that case, there was nothing more I could explain. Lu Jincheng, I'll say it again. I didn't intentionally bump into her, and I won't apologize. You should leave. Su Wanyue, he called out my full name with a heavy tone. The last time he used my full name was when he was blinded. He pushed me away in panic, curling up and saying, Su Wanyue, everyone else has abandoned me. Can you please not care about me too? I stumbled and fell to the ground. It hurt so much, but I didn't back down. I crawled over and grabbed his hands, pounding on himself, firmly saying, unless your eyes are healed, I will never abandon you. He suddenly hugged me tightly, crying. He promised never to get angry with me again, but today, he lost his temper over another woman. Realizing he had lost his composure, his expression softened, and he pulled me into his embrace. Sorry, honey, I didn't mean to snap at you. I lost control for a moment. If you don't want to apologize, just rest for now. He then gently kissed my forehead. Are you hungry, dear? I'll ask Sister Chen to cook something for you. Sister Chen is quite a good cook, but as I ate, the food tasted bland. As if I was chewing wax, I ate a little and then made an excuse to go back to my room to rest. In the afternoon, Lu Jincheng thoughtfully brought me a glass of milk. Honey, you didn't eat much at noon. Have some milk. Thank you. I took the milk and drank it quietly. Lu Jincheng watched me finish drinking, looking like he had something to say but hesitated. I took the initiative to ask him, is there something you want to talk about? Are you free tonight? Join me at a friend's birthday party. Lu Jincheng has many friends, but most of them don't like me. They look down on me and even mock me behind my back, saying I'm a toad lusting after a swan. I thought that was why Lu Jincheng was hesitant to tell me, but wanting to go abroad smoothly, I agreed. It wasn't until I entered the banquet hall that I realized the friend he mentioned was Jiang Xian. She sat in the center of the sofa, wearing the same sexy red slip dress and her hair in glamorous waves. Her arm was wrapped in thick gauze, which didn't seem to affect her poised elegance. A friend saw me enter, deliberately raising their voice. They said sarcastically, my friend here, her skin is as thick as a city wall, knowing he doesn't love her but still shamelessly trying to marry him. And guess what? What then? She succeeded in climbing up the ladder. Who knows how long she can show off. Enough. Don't gossip behind others' backs. Jiang Xian elegantly took a sip of her juice. When she put down her glass, she accidentally saw me. Her face turned pale, and she stared at me in horror. Ah Chen, why did you bring her here? I'm scared. Lu Jincheng glanced at me. He took my hand. Xin, don't be scared. Yaya came here specifically to apologize to you. I nearly choked. Lu Jincheng was really pushing the limits, tricking me here to apologize to his old flame. Ah Chen, take her away. She's going to kill me. Jiang Xian acted as if she was terrified. I watched her performance coldly, curious to see what new antics she would pull. Lu Jincheng saw that I remained silent. He whispered in my ear, honey, just apologize to her. Okay, if you do, I can agree to anything you want. Lu Jincheng, I told you I won't apologize. Yeah, please listen. Sorry, I can't comply. I turned around to leave. Lu Jincheng grabbed my wrist, still keeping his voice low. Yeah, my mother called me again today, urging me to reclaim the land occupied by the orphanage soon. Should I listen to her? I paused mid-step. The orphanage was where I grew up. Last year, the Lu Corporation flagged the entire area, and the orphanage faced eviction. A few days ago, I had transferred 50 million I received from Mrs. Lu to the matron to lease a new place, but the new site needed time to be renovated. I hadn't expected that Lu Jincheng would threaten me with this, just to make me apologize to his beloved. The man before me had become a stranger even before this. He had been very kind to me and had taken great care of the orphanage. Lu Jincheng, must I really apologize? I asked, holding back tears. A flicker of reluctance passed through his eyes, but he gently touched the top of my head. Mimi, it's just an apology. Fine, I'll do it. I turned around and walked step by step towards Jiang Xian. Jiang Xian watched me. A barely noticeable hint of intent gleamed through her fearful eyes. She pointed to the cake on the table and spoke cautiously. Mimi, I know you hate me, but I swear, there's nothing between Aching and me. Please don't target me anymore. Let's eat some cake and make peace. I looked at the cake on the table. Mango flavored, clearly. It was specially prepared for me. I then looked at Lu Jincheng. He knew I was allergic to mangoes, yet he remained silent. Mimi, don't you want to? Jiang Xian looked increasingly aggrieved. Aching, if Mimi doesn't want to, let's not force her. She said, she wants to. Lu Jincheng insisted, looking down at me, his gentleness tinged with a stern warning. Mimi, is that right? The last bit of hope shattered. I felt a chill in my heart and squatted in front of the coffee table. Jiang Xian personally cut a large slice of cake and handed it to me with a forced smile. Mimi, this is a birthday cake Aching specially ordered to apologize to me. You're really lucky to have a taste. Make sure you eat a lot. I took the cake and began to eat silently. With each bite, tears fell. I grew up in an orphanage, never celebrated a birthday, nor had I ever owned a cake. The first time I had cake was the day Lu Jincheng regained his sight. He had champagne and cake delivered to celebrate. The cake was exquisitely made. Unable to wait, I greedily scooped a small piece and ate it. Minutes later, I began to breathe rapidly and then fainted. Lu Jincheng was terrified. He carried me out of the villa, urging the driver to hurry, his eyes red as he begged me to hold on. I was in pain, but I could clearly feel his tears falling on my cheeks. Back then, he truly loved me and was scared something would happen to me. But today, despite knowing I was allergic to mangoes, he allowed his beloved Jiang Xian to trouble me, forcing me to eat the cake. In his heart, making Jiang Xian happy was more important than my life. Angry and tearful, I stuffed large bites of the cake into my mouth. After finishing one piece, I started on the second, then the third. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, I had almost eaten half of the entire cake. Lu Jincheng's expression changed slightly, and he started to speak but stopped. Mimi, you. Lu Jincheng, I deliberately crashed the car into your Miss Jiang. I was wrong, and I apologized to her. Is this sincere enough? Xin didn't ask you to keep eating. If I don't keep eating, will your Xin let me go? Can the orphanage be saved? I laughed as tears flowed down. Lu Jincheng, I finished the other half. Please don't threaten me with the orphanage anymore. Okay. Lu Jincheng was at a loss for words. I tightened my grip on the spoon and continued to eat voraciously. Enough. Lu Jincheng could no longer bear it and knocked the spoon from my hand. Su Wanyue, if you want to apologize, do it properly, don't pull these stunts. He was very strong. I fell to the ground. It didn't hurt, but my breathing became rapid, and a familiar feeling of suffocation surged towards me. I supported myself on the coffee table, trying to stand up from the ground. Seeing my discomfort, Lu Jincheng's expression tightened, and he reached out to help me. Wanyue, how are you? But Jiang Xian got to me first, holding my arm with a face full of apology. Wanyue, what's wrong with you? If you don't want to apologize, don't force yourself. Why do you have to scare me like this? She finished crying and then lifted her tear-stained face to Lu Jincheng. Jincheng, what's wrong with Wanyue? Is she really unwell or just pretending? I'm scared by her actions. Her fingers, wrapped around my arm, pinched into my flesh deliberately. I struggled to shake her off. But she deliberately sat down hard on the floor, hitting the table leg with her bandaged hand. She cradled her hand, her face painfully contorted. Wanyue, why did you push me? My hand, Xin, Lu Jincheng's hand, initially extended toward me, ultimately turned towards her. He pulled her into his embrace. Jiang Xian looked up at him with tears in her eyes. My injury, it seems to have split open. Jincheng, will my hand be ruined? No, I'll take you to the hospital right now. Lu Jincheng picked her up from the floor and walked towards the exit. As he passed by me, his steps faltered slightly, and he glanced down at me gasping on the ground. His gaze was doubtful, hesitant, but he did not look back at me again and walked away with long strides. The room fell silent, only the sound of my heavy breathing remained. As I shivered and reached out for my phone to seek help, the crowd started to buzz. Cold discussions filled the air. Lu Jincheng has left. Who is she performing for now? She's been acting for so many years, must be a habit by now. Honestly, I'm quite envious of her. If only I had known, I would have gone to the Lu family estate to play a submissive role. Maybe I'd be Mrs. Lu by now. Forget it, only girls from humble backgrounds can endure such a demeaning life. I really want to see how low she can stoop. My consciousness began to blur. The last thing I heard was women's malicious mockery. I finally believed. A marriage not favored by others is unlikely to be happy. I had that dream again, the dream where I was abandoned by everyone, only this time, I wasn't panicking nor aimlessly looking for a place to belong. My heart grew cold, and I no longer thought about relying on others. No one's life has to be lived with someone else. Half asleep and half awake, I faintly heard Lu Jincheng's voice, cold yet anxious. What exactly is wrong with Wanyue? Why hasn't she woken up yet? President Lu, rest assured, Mrs. Lu has basically come back from the brink. She'll wake up soon. Don't lie to me. You have my word. The doctor spoke in a pleasing tone. After he left, Lu Jincheng gently took my hand in his, moving my fingers across his stubbled chin. Yeah, please wake up soon. Don't scare me. His voice was tender, as if I were the only love of his life, irreplaceable. If it weren't for Jiang Xian, I might have been deceived again. I slowly opened my eyes. He was overjoyed, gripping my hand even tighter. But his joy soon turned to regret. My wife, you're finally awake. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to force you to apologize to Jiang Xian. I was just afraid that if you didn't, she might sue you. I didn't realize your mango allergy was so severe. I shouldn't have let you eat that cake. I gave a bitter smile. He wasn't unaware. It's just that Jiang Xian's moods mattered to him more than my life. The truth was in my heart. I couldn't be bothered to argue with him or listen to his insincere excuses. Amid his endless apologies, I calmly said, "Husband, I would also like a birthday party. Is that okay?" Lu Jincheng was taken aback, quickly nodding his head. "Of course, my wife, you can have as big a birthday party as you want. I don't need it to be big, but I want it to be at the other manor." "Why do you want it at the other manor?" He kissed my fingers. "My wife, we could choose a better location, like a private vineyard or a private island, but I just want it at the other manor." I met his concerned gaze. "Husband, the other manor is where our love blossomed and bore fruit. It holds extraordinary significance for me." Lu Jincheng fell silent, his eyes cast downward, hiding a trace of guilt. After a moment, he looked up. "All right, then let's have it at the other manor." "Thank you." Since the other manor was where our relationship was confirmed, it should naturally be the place where we part. Let it be a formal farewell. The other manor isn't big and its location isn't great, which is why it became the place where the Lu family discarded Lu Jincheng, deemed useless. Yet this place with no apparent advantages caught Jiang Xian's eye. Nothing has changed here. It's full of memories, everywhere reminding me of how Lu Jincheng and I grew together and loved each other. However, the wedding photo of Lu Jincheng and me on the bedroom wall had been replaced at some point with a campus oil painting. The two figures stretched by the setting sun in the painting were clearly Lu Jincheng and Jiang Xian. Seeing me watching the painting expressionlessly, Lu Jincheng looked somewhat guilty. "My wife, I was planning to move the wedding photo back to our bedroom to hang." And just decorate here with the painting. I quietly nodded, and as I turned around, I saw a torn black stocking messily thrown on the big bed in the center of the bedroom. The stocking looked familiar. It was the same one Jiang Xian wore in the risque photo she sent me the day before yesterday. It seems the other manner has been tainted. My last sanctuary was gone with Lu Jincheng's change of heart. Suddenly, I felt nauseous but couldn't vomit. Lu Jincheng seemed to notice the black stocking too. His expression hardened. He turned me around, saying, "Wife, our guests have almost all arrived. Let's go downstairs." I didn't want to stay a second longer. Together, we headed for the bedroom door. Downstairs, the party had already started. As the glasses were exchanged in a lively toast, I immediately spotted Jiang Xian at the center of the crowd. She wasn't wearing her usual red dress, but her presence was as radiant as ever. Perhaps it was because she was Lu Jincheng's first love. Or perhaps because everyone but me knew that she was truly Mrs. Lu. Wherever she went, she was the center of attention, like the moon surrounded by stars. Lu Jincheng, watching the crowd's light-hearted banter, unconsciously tightened his arm around my waist and leaned in to whisper in my ear, "Wife, Jiang Xian feels quite guilty about the cake incident, so she made it a point to attend your birthday party today." His voice was low, yet loud enough for Jiang Xian to overhear. Jiang Xian shook her wine glass at me. "Mrs. Lu, I'm really sorry about the cake." Her apology lacked sincerity and seemed more like a provocation. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, I returned her gesture with a cool smile. "It's all right." It seemed Lu Jincheng preferred to keep me away from Jiang Xian. After making some polite conversation with friends, he thoughtfully escorted me to a temporarily arranged resting room, claiming he was worried I'd get tired, and said he would call me when it was time to blow out the birthday candles. I had already lost interest in the celebration and planned to leave through the back door. Unexpectedly, I overheard Lu Jincheng's angry voice near the pool. "What exactly do you want? Do you enjoy making my life difficult?" I turned to look and saw Lu Jincheng pinning Jiang Xian against a wall, his hand tightly clasped around her neck, his face as cold as ice. Yet Jiang Xian was not afraid. She gently lifted his lip with her slender fingers, her smile teasing. "Lu Jincheng, what era do you think this is? Keeping both a wife and a mistress? What do you mean?" He growled. "What I mean is, you can't hide the truth forever. Sooner or later, Su Wanyue will find out her marriage certificate is fake, so you purposely came to the villa and left those traces intentionally. I love you too much." His handsome face darkened. "Jiang Xian, if you want to play it this way, then we, Chen." Jiang Xian placed her finger on his lips, her expression softening. "I know Su Wanyue has helped you and you want to repay her, but this isn't the way to do it. You're just hurting her. If you really want to make it up to her, give her some money and let her leave Jiang City. I believe she'll understand that a forced melon isn't sweet and will agree to leave." Lu Jincheng's expression turned icy. "I won't let Wanyue leave me. I'm warning you, today is Wanyue's birthday. And I won't allow you to cause trouble or hurt her." He gritted his teeth, pushed her away, and turned back to the house. Under the swaying shadows of the trees, Jiang Xian suddenly laughed. She twirled a strand of hair by her cheek and raised her voice. "Miss Su, you've really surprised me." "Not as much as you have," I replied, stepping closer to her. She turned her head to look at me, sarcasm clear in her eyes. "Miss Su, I don't understand why you're still with him. He neither marries you nor loves you, and lately, he's even been less intimate with you, hasn't he? If I were you, I would have left with dignity a long time ago." "No, you wouldn't have," I retorted, meeting her mocking gaze with a cold laugh. "Miss Jiang, knowing full well he had a girlfriend and was committed, you still flew back from abroad to cling to him. That clearly shows you're the one who lacks tact, Miss Su. Isn't the fake marriage certificate and the time he spent with me lately enough to prove his feelings for me? If that's not enough..." She stepped closer to me, her eyes gleaming with malice as they swept over the nearby swimming pool. "How about we make a big bet? Do you dare?" I followed her gaze to the pool. The water shimmered in the light, at least 2 meters deep, and I couldn't swim. "I don't dare, nor could I afford the risk, because I knew I would lose." Lu Jincheng had never given me the confidence to win, but if you don't bet, how will you ever give up on Lu Jincheng completely? As I turned to leave, Jiang Xian grabbed me fiercely. With a splash, we both fell into the water. The icy pool water quickly enveloped my body, and I screamed in fear. "Help!" Jiang Xian flailed in the water about 2 meters away from me, also crying for help. I felt water entering my throat. Breathing became difficult, and my body uncontrollably sank further down. A crowd gathered at the edge. I saw Lu Jincheng push through the crowd, taking off his jacket as he dove into the pool. Though I had long stopped loving him, in this dire despite my predicament, I couldn't help but hope for his help, just this once, to pull me out of the water. But my hope drowned along with my heart when he swam without hesitation towards Jiang Xian, wrapping his strong arms around her and urgently pulling her to the poolside. Meanwhile, I was embarrassingly fished out of the water with a large net, lying cold and coughing water on the shore. On the other side, Lu Jinchen urgently asked Jiang Xian, who was soaked, Xin, "Are you alright?" Jiang Xian weakly opened her eyes and gave him a frail smile. "Aiken, did you forget, I can swim?" After saying that, she looked over at me with a slight lift of her brows, her eyes clearly gloating. "See. I win again, I always win." Yes, she won again, even knowing she could swim. Lu Jinchen chose to save her first. The surroundings fell eerily silent, and I could even see the pity in everyone's eyes. "Miss Su, are you alright? Do you need an ambulance?" someone finally asked. It was this question that made Lu Jinchen remember that I, his wife, was also there. He frowned slightly and walked towards me, asking, "Yume, what are you playing at?" His tone was clearly accusatory. Suspecting that I had pushed someone on purpose, "Aiken, the water is so cold, I can't breathe." Jiang Xian clung to his clothes, her face red and gasping for air. As usual, Lu Jinchen left me to carry her towards the car. As he passed by me,